Hopefully that fixed it. It's getting weird. I don't know if there's like a cutoff on my internet every day at the same time. Um, it seems to be a problem with my VPN because as soon as it goes down, if I just switch my VPN to another place, that fixes it. So I don't know what that is. You said all platforms. That's moving the goal. Oh, I guess we're not talking to me. All right, let's get back to this video. Talking about Ezra Klein and this consistent move by Democrats, moderate Democrats like Schumer and Pelosi, to say like we need to move more to the middle. That'll get us more voters. Your VPN caught Admir's Wi-Fi. Yeah, if somebody's handy with the internet, you can. I would love some help on any of that stuff. I don't know what to do. I pay for the most expensive internet. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I have a direct Ethernet from my modem to my computer. It's not even Wi-Fi. And if I speed tested it, it's incredibly fast. I think we have like 2 gig. I don't know. It still works on my end. Like the video still goes. It just cuts off your feed. Like I could still watch and browse the internet that whole time. I was clicking on things. It just cuts off the feed for some reason. YouTube should be up now. YouTube's up now. All right, here's this clip. We may have to check bleed or packet loss with the ISP. Yeah, I know what that means for sure. Maybe message me. I don't even know what that means. Here's this clip from Majority Report.
Wherever you want to look, it is not the left that is picking these candidates. But in Ezra Klein's world, it is.
Violence of that kind is fundamentally immoral and catastrophically ineffective. I don't find this to be a hard line to hold.
No, I don't imagine that you do.
And the stakes of politics are almost always incredibly high. I think they happen to be higher now. And I do think a lot of what is happening in terms of the structure of the system itself is dangerous.
The threat of losing the midterm elections is extraordinary. And so we must take extraordinary steps. You're not going to believe it, but his extraordinary steps are almost identical to the steps that we've been taking.
We would agree on that premise. That this is existential. And this is why what he's saying here has to be vociferously opposed and rooted out of the Democratic Party root and stem, because he is proposing the same repackaged dog shit that has lost us these elections.
And that a lot of the people who embrace alarm don't embrace what I think obviously follows from that alarm, which is the willingness to make strategic and political decisions.
This is where it gets dumb. This is where it gets like the dumbest.
You find personally discomforting, even though they are obviously more likely to help you win.
The way that this guy argues is all in the adverbs and the adjectives. It naturally follows. Yep. No, that is not the case. There is absolutely nothing obvious about what he is saying, because we have time and time again seen what he's about to offer that is so obvious. Now, I agree with the idea that, yes, you need to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. But ask yourself, when you look at like who is going to win the mayoralty in New York. I understand you can't transplant New York to Ohio, but look at who is not making the uncomfortable decisions. It is the Democratic leadership, and they're going down with the ship. Everything is obvious. He's saying, this is obvious. This is obvious. He is trying to paint the people who are going to disagree with what he's about to say as so ideologically captured that they can't think rationally.
Trying to open your coalition to people you didn't want it open to before, running pro-life Democrats. And one of my biggest frustrations.
Yeah. That's where we went with it. Let's run some pro-life Democrats. That'll work. First of all, I hate the term pro-life. I think it's fucking stupid, because almost everybody I know who claims to be pro-life on abortion is pro-death in like every other scenario. Like they love war, they love the death penalty. They think that any crime against somebody that they care about should be met with death. Like they're not pro-life. It's pro-birth. Yeah, thank you. It's pro-forced birth. But our country isn't, like the majority of our country isn't pro-life. And certainly in all these purple states, he's talking about like you want to run a senator from a purple state and have them be pro-life. How? Which state does that make any fucking sense in? Every state that is not deeply red, and even some that are like Kansas, when abortion was sent back to the states, they protected it. This makes no fucking sense. Like Ezra Klein, to me, I just have questions like, where's his money coming from? How is he on every fucking show? How does he get on with every fucking Republican? You got to be aware of people like Ezra Klein. Useful, not an idiot. Useful, though. Useful to the right. Maybe he likes these clicks. But like this, there's nothing courageous about sitting on the fence and being like, you know what? Maybe because we lost this election, we should change and do what the Republicans are doing. They didn't win that election on abortion. They won that election on fear. And it was a fake fear. What Democrats it is so frustrating about Democrats is there is a real fear in this country. There are things that we should actually be concerned about. Specifically, and I'm going to say it, fascism. Specifically fascism. And there's an all-out war from the conservatives right now that you can't even say that anymore. You can't even point and say fascist anymore to something that is fascist, to something that mirrors fascism perfectly. We can't even say that. If you are anti-fascist, you no longer are very safe in this country. So no, running a pro-life Democrat is not going to, one, help you win elections, or two, make the country a better place.
With many people whose politics I otherwise share is the unwillingness to match the seriousness of your politics to the seriousness of your alarm.
I don't get offended too often, but the idea that his politics are more serious. First of all, in Kansas, Ohio, and Missouri, abortion rights won in every voter referendum in those three states.
It's outrunning
notoriously blue states. What was it? Kansas, Missouri, and what was the other one? Was it?
Yes.
Was it
First of all, in Kansas, Ohio, and Missouri, abortion rights won in every voter referendum in those three states.
So what does that tell you? If Trump wins those states, but the abortion's protected, then maybe he didn't win because of abortion. I don't know how Ezra Klein's coming to this conclusion. Even if you're just looking at the data, it would say the exact opposite. It would say that you should run pro-choice candidates. Because even in red states, it's popular to be pro-life.
Outrunning Democrats.
If you feel that way, you are not serious. Not only is this all of what he's doing a complete retread from 20 years ago, you will also notice that Hillary Clinton in 2004, in the run-up to that election, and in the wake of that election, we need to not be so uptight about abortion rights. I'm not making this up. Go Google it. They've tried this before. They're doing the exact same play again. And they're telling you, if you have a different analysis of what will work, you're not serious.
Not to get anybody to leave this stream and go watch Majority Report, but I highly, highly recommend the Majority Report. Sam Seder, along with James O'Brien, are two of the people that probably shaped my politics the most. And those are some I would highly, highly recommend. People that don't take corporate money. Sam Seder could have. Sam Seder, he's the voice of somebody on Bob's Burgers. I don't watch Bob's Burgers, so you might have recognized his voice. He plays somebody there. He's been an actor. He's been in sitcoms before, and he gave up his acting career to do this. Not that it's like a huge sacrifice. He's doing very well. But this is a guy that, like, I look and I hope when I'm Sam's age, I think he's close to 60. If you're like close to 60 in this country and you're still progressive, and you're still learning new things, and you're still like molding your political beliefs, and you're abandoning some political beliefs, that's pretty fucking impressive, honestly. It's really easy to just like quit learning and say like these are my beliefs, so for the rest of my life, like this is just who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to be open to changing my mind. And I love Sam Seder for that. Same with James O'Brien. I think that's like why those people are so impactful on me. Because I do look forward a lot. You know, that's 20 plus years away before I'm 60. But that's my goal. When I'm 60, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm doing this or something else, like I just hope that when I'm 60, I'm not looking at college age kids going, oh, they're the problem. They don't fucking know. They'll learn. Because they're always right. They're just the overwhelming majority of college students on every single big issue that's ever happened in this country, they're right every fucking time. I can't think of something they were wrong about. Maybe you guys could. There's got to be something like the college kids. There was a big movement and the college kids were wrong. But like every major issue, every war, every genocide, foreign policy. They're just right every time. And they do it in the face of all these people in, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old going, you'll learn. You're just a young, dumb kid. When they say, like, when you're young, you're progressive. As you get older, you get more conservative. It's just, I think that's laziness. I think that they're right, but I don't think that they're correctly analyzing what's happening there. What's happening is that people have lives, they get very busy, they have kids, they have a career, and they just stop learning new things. And they think whatever they knew at that time, it just didn't change. And they hold on to those beliefs forever. That's why I love Majority Report, but also because they are fearless. Emma Vigeland, fearless. Sam Cedar, fearless. They do not give a fuck who they are criticizing, and they're principled attacks. That's a very a sensible attack to level on Ezra Klein. And there's a battle in the DNC right now to run out people like Mamdani. They're all afraid of AOC and Bernie Sanders, and I don't know why. I don't know why you would be afraid of Bernie Sanders or AOC. You just had the most qualified candidate of our lifetime lose to Donald fucking Trump. Like, just a dumb guy. A dumb rich guy who lied every single time he showed up on stage. And she didn't. She may have lost because she's a black woman. There may have been people who didn't show up to vote because she was a black woman. I agree with that. But there's also a lot of people who didn't show up to vote because they were uninspired, or they were protesting because her agenda sucked. Her agenda was just like, we're not as bad as Trump. It's got to be a hard shift. If we've learned anything from Trump, like, these hard shifts work. When the people that are being represented don't feel represented, take a hard shift. Make a significant change. Tell these people, we're going to get you health care. Everybody's going to have health care. You're going to have child care. When you get sick, when somebody in your family gets sick, you don't have to throw up a GoFundMe and hope that a bunch of strangers are inspired by your pain and help you pay for your medical bills. That's the change. And no more Ezra Klein. All right, let's get into the meat of today. Now it's going to get depressing for the rest of the day. First, I want to talk about this what happened this weekend in Michigan. There was a man who drove into a Mormon church close to my heart, and then opened fire, and then was shot by police. Trump immediately runs to social media and says, I've been briefed on the horrendous shooting that took place at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you don't know, that's the Mormons in Grand Blanc, Michigan. The FBI was immediately on scene and will be leading the federal investigation and providing full support to state and local officials. The suspect is dead, but there's still a lot to learn. This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America. Trump administration will keep the public posted, as we always do. In the meantime, pray for the victims and their families. This epidemic of violence in our country must end. This is the shooter. This is him in a Trump shirt that says, make liberals cry again. That's the shooter. I know there were stories that came out early. I can't confirm it. The Mormon Church is very secretive, and the Mormon Church just lost on the same day that this happened. The prophet, the president of the Mormon Church, died at 101 years old. So they were in their own world. I don't know what their statement's going to be, but it's hard to get church records. Like, if I want to find out if this guy was Mormon or not, I've got to do a records request. But as a person who's not. Well, I'm on the list in the Mormon Church. I've been disfellowshipped. I don't think I've been excommunicated. They don't have my address, and they're supposed to tell you if you get excommunicated. I don't think I have, but I've been disfellowshipped twice. They won't tell you if this man was a member of the church. But there were a lot of reports that this was somebody who was Mormon and got excommunicated from the Mormon church. So he did not post this picture. This is somebody else that posted the picture. I just put it with it. So that's what we know so far. But if you look here, his whole family MAGA. This is now back to back, like MAGA related. I mean, at least MAGA rooted crimes with Charlie Kirk and here, and then of course the shooter in Colorado. Why are we going after trans people? We have a problem in this country. It seems to be like white dudes getting real violent. Just white dudes over and over and over again. And they all seem to have roots with Trump. Even the guy that they just convicted of trying to take Trump's life, he was a Trump supporter. He changed. By the time that happened, he had changed, but like originally a Trump supporter. There's something in the MAGA movement and conservatism that keeps making people think that violence is the only answer. And that could be, I know, saying the evil demonic forces are coming to take over your country, to take your jobs, to destroy your family, and to sexualize your kids. That could have been it. I don't think it has a lot to do with correctly pointing out that Donald Trump and this administration is fascist. This is yet another time when, like, fascism, calling somebody a fascist, has nothing to do with the crime. Just like with Charlie Kirk, just like with the school shooting, and just like here. In fact, I'm trying to find one off the top of my head where it's like you could point to and be like, oh, it's because you're being called fascist. But what we really have here is a fascist administration and a bunch of crybaby bitches who want to make every single tragedy their own personal tragedy. And they just want to feel attacked. That's what's fun for them. It's fun for these folks to feel attacked. So that's what they did. All the Republicans just came out on this day and they're like, this is an attack on Christians. The comment sections were unbelievable because the comment sections are like, Mormons aren't Christians. They're not Christian. There was like this big fight between now there's like this push, like maybe the Mormons are the problem. And if you remember, Steve Bannon, after Charlie Kirk was shot, was like, there's something wrong with these Mormons. They will never stop splitting you, MAGA. If you're here, they'll never stop. If you're just like a non-denominational Christian, eventually they'll come for you. If you're a Christian who doesn't attend church, they'll come for you. If you are an atheist, they'll come for you. Eventually, all of you will be targeted. There's just no end to this. It's all Donald Trump knows. It's all these folks know. It's constant victimhood, constant victimhood, constant victimhood. So no matter what happens in the news, it gets in front of Trump's face and he goes, how can I be the victim? And then he says it and you guys are like, that's right. We're actually all the victims together. Let me show you some posts from his family, from him and his mother. This is him, Tom Sanford. Join a group of great guys. Lincoln saved the Union, ended slavery. Grant defeated the South, gave blacks the vote. Teddy created our national parks, won the Nobel Peace Prize. Ike won World War II in Europe, created our interstate highways. I don't know if he won World War II. Reagan won the Cold War, and Trump saved 2 million American lives during COVID. That one's going to come back to bite you in the ass. Again, like just that Republicans are always the heroes. That's from the shooter. This also from the shooter posting this video, which we showed on this live stream. It was this dude saying we're not going to be peaceful much longer. It was this veteran who was saying like the vets aren't taken care of, and we take all that money and we spend it on illegal immigrants, putting them in fancy hotels, which of course wasn't true, but yeah, he posted that. Here we have stay away from the vaccine, it will kill you, which is like saved 2 million American lives during COVID on October 22nd, 2020. And then 4 days later, don't take the vaccine. It will kill you. Huh. It seems diametrically opposed. And then I think this one's from his mom. God bless our amazing president, President Trump. Thank you for all your sacrifice for our country. These are Trumpers. There's his mom posing. I don't even know what that is, or where that is, in a tent somewhere. COVID-19 vaccines use aborted fetal tissue. My body, my choice. Like, come on. This isn't left-wing violence. It's just not. It's MAGA violence. You guys, you say this type of shit, and you don't realize the people that you're dealing with. There's rumors that this person suffered from PTSD, that they were an Iraq or an Afghanistan war veteran. That obviously can lead you to some dark places. But maybe, just maybe, it's your constant rhetoric about calling everybody evil and making people feel like they're a threat to your family. There is a large exodus from the Mormon Church because of specifically this. So you could, if they were Mormon, you could see them being pushed out of the church because of COVID-19 vaccines. The Mormon president who just died was a heart surgeon, and he said you should take the vaccine. I have a personal good friend who, I guess we're not very close anymore, but used to be a good friend, somebody I was on my Mormon mission with. They were actively Mormon until COVID, and then it was The guy who's a heart surgeon who they believe talks to God, he said you should get a vaccine, but somebody on the internet said no. So they lost their faith completely, and that's what led them away from Mormonism. It was the single biggest event that would cause an exodus from Mormonism that we know about, COVID-19, because a heart surgeon who talks to God had the wrong answer, but Facebook posts had the right one. Here's his mom's post again. I mean, you can see it's just all Trump. No amount of hating him will make her qualified. More Trump stuff here. This is Joe Biden with blood all over his. As heads up, Genesee County, the petitions have arrived. Join us September 14th at Christian Apostolic Church. That was from a church? Jesus Christ. That was a church post. This one in the top right corner with Biden with the blood on his hands. There he is with the dead animal. There's his mom. I am Charlie Kirk. There. Anyways, clearly not violence from the left. Clearly violence from the right. Doesn't seem like it was targeted at the right necessarily, but targeted at Mormons instead. Not sure why. Mormons themselves, by the way, history of massacring people, history of murder. They're not clean themselves. All right, let's get into the meat. Here's Ty Cobb. This is used to be a White House attorney. On Friday, before we left, they announced that there would be charges filed against James Comey. I said then, I don't usually make a lot of predictions, and I don't really like that I made a prediction because you never know. And I do want to remain open-minded on Comey, so I'm going to walk that back. Like maybe they've got some evidence on Comey that I don't know about. But as it stands right now, it doesn't seem like James Comey committed a crime. I don't even think that I'm not even sure this will get to court. I think that this likely was designed to cause James Comey some fear and some money, because the charges don't make any sense. They say he lied in front of Congress. They won't even tell us what he lied about. I can't figure out what he lied about. They say it was. They also say he like approved a leak, that he told Andrew McCabe to leak something. Andrew McCabe says that isn't true. In fact, I read Comey's book, and I know he had somebody leak something to the media, but it was like a journalist. It was a friend of his. It wasn't Andrew McCabe. So I don't know what they're talking about. But this is Ty Cobb, who was in the first Trump administration, was White House counsel. Listen to what he says about the charges.
What do you see here?
Well, I think this is a tragic day for America, not because Comey's perfect by any means, but what we have here is a clear vindictive prosecution, a clear selective prosecution. We have a president, for the first time in history, ordering his attorney general to indict his enemies, and the attorney general, instead of being the independent force that she's supposed to be, saying, "Yes, sir. How fast can I get that done for you?"
Check bingo cards. We've got. We're discrediting this because of the CNN logo. So if anybody on your bingo card has the MAGA in the chat going, "Of course, CNN," mark it down on your bingo.
I think if she's concerned about justice for people who have misled the country, reflection on her confirmation proceedings is probably in order, because she talked about even-handed justice, and this is not that. I think that the case is subject to motions to dismiss for vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution. I think, likewise, it's a very weak case, at least based on what we publicly know, and we publicly know an unusual amount about this case. Yeah. Because of the Justice Department internal Inspector General's investigation, where he found the person that Comey allegedly authorized to leak the information not credible, and found that Comey was credible. So I think this is a very problematic case for the government to bring, but I think the way in which they brought it is problematic for the entire country. And this is either the end of the rule of law in America, or it's a tipping point against the authoritarian activity that we have seen from this president and his attorney general.
Yeah, it's just all these hyperbolic lefties, not people who worked in the Trump administration as attorneys. It's just all of us. this idea of like selective prosecution is frustrating because if you watch how Trump plays the game, it's very transparent. What Trump always does, and he has openly said this, is I'm just always going to accuse my opposition of whatever it is I did. So Donald Trump broke the law. Every time he went to court, he was convicted. Every time, or he lost the civil case. He lost both civil cases, and he was convicted. And they called that selective. And they said because Trump was the political opponent that it was selective. Which, by the way, like if you set it up that way, and you say that it's always selective if you prosecute your political opponent, then you're setting up a scenario where you can break any law you want to, and it doesn't matter. And that seems to be the case because Donald Trump did break the law multiple times, and he was found guilty, and none of you fucking cared. Right? If you go to court and there's any evidence against Comey, like none of us are going to care. He's one of you anyways. He's a Republican. He always has been. The reason you all hate Comey is because Comey refused to take a loyalty pledge from Trump. Trump got very upset about it publicly. He fired Comey publicly. And then he had to make you guys think that he fired Comey because Comey was evil. Not because Comey didn't take the loyalty pledge to Trump. And when he was asked to take that loyalty pledge to Trump, he said, I'll take a pledge to the Constitution. I'll pledge to the Constitution, but not to you. Like there's supposed to be a separation between the executive branch and the FBI. Let me read a couple comments before we go to the next one. Jen, did you need something too?
Yep, I was just going to do some announcements.
All right, let me read these real quick. Amy said, have you seen the protesters in Portland? They're armed with donuts at the end of fishing poles, calling officers they're ice fishing. No, but if you send that to Jen, I'll pull it up. Jen said, currently reading Jesus and John Wayne, which touches on the Christian evangelist shift since 2016. It's been a good read. I haven't even heard of that. I'll check that out. Thank you, 6 Cents Amelia. Devin said, slapping the gift goal for Jen. Allie, I missed this one earlier. David Archuleta's song Held Together is about him being gay, I do believe. I haven't read that. I haven't heard that song. I admittedly, I'm not steeped in musical knowledge. Asta Sophia says, congrats on 20K subscribers today. Oh, we hit 20K today. You always know before I do. Greetings from Iceland. Good to see you. We all may be over there soon. Julie said, so proud of you. Jen's cool too. And Jamie says, happy Monday. Did I miss any Venmos, Jen? I'll check those real quick.
Yeah, you did.
All right. Brother Bob says, thank you, guys. Appreciate you, Brother Bob. Teresa says, Jay's awesome. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Teresa. Rachel said, oh, that was from Friday, I think. That's from Friday. Yeah. All right. Did I miss any other ones? Alexandria said, virtual hug, and thank you. Melissa said, Dollar Train. I'm looking at these super chats. I don't think I missed any super chats. I think we're good. All right, go ahead, Jen.
All right. So we are. What?
Not as far as you think.
No, I'm saying for how far we've been in the show. We started at 10. It's 11:19 Pacific currently. We do this each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. So if you're looking, depending on where you're watching, if you're on Twitch, it's below you. On YouTube, it's above you. Same with TikTok, it's above you. Those are the pay links, and the number on the top left-hand corner is our gift goal. We need that to hit that each day to keep the show going, keep the lights on. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking down the rest of that balance so that we can keep doing this for you and pissing people off on the right, because there's a lot of them in YouTube. Fun fact, guys, if you guys want to come up and talk to RTP, if you think he's full of shit or whatever else, you can actually have a conversation.
I saw self-righteous pompous prick. That's the new. Is that what it was? Yeah, self-righteous pompous prick. That's a new one. I like that. Thank you, David.
They called you lots of stuff today. It makes sense, but you know, some people want to yell their. Sorry, I just read something that just made me kind of want to barf. Anyway, if you guys want to come and talk to RTP, you can add me on Discord. My Venmo. The Venmo username is the same as my Discord username. So if you want to add me on Discord, I can bring you up, have a conversation, talk with RTPJ in real time. If you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so. We're having a members only event, depending on, if you subscribe on any paid membership for TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube, you can join us for the members only event tonight at 6 Pacific time. And then yeah, we were trying to do more of those. So also check out the link tree in our bio. We're on most social media platforms. Jay's on Cameo, and we have merch, and all these episodes are uploaded to Spotify. So I think yeah, if we can knock out that gift code sooner rather than later, that would be amazing. So I told my spawn how to speak to people who are wrong about the rapture.
Okay.
I told her to be kind, be comforting, and maybe try and help them to see it in a different perspective. I mean, after all, it's not the end of the world.
Stupid. Stupid. Corvus said, I feel like we need to laugh. I need to laugh after the show. What does a robot do after a one-night stand? He nuts and bolts. Good. Like Jen said, we'll be laughing plenty tonight when we watch that Mormon dating show. That'll make you laugh plenty. All right, here's Andrew McCarthy, former Republican. I think he worked for the Southern District of New York at one point. Here's his take on the new filing from the Trump administration. Now, remember that like Trump had to fire 3 lawyers before he got Lindsay Halligan to prosecute this case. She's never prosecuted a case ever. Just let that sink in, Trumpers. This is so bad that no prosecutor who cares at all about their career is willing to take on this case. So you had to get Lindsay Halligan, who does not have any prosecutorial experience, much like Alina Habba. Trump can't find good lawyers anymore to do like these public attacks on his opponents because they all lose their licenses. Rudy Giuliani lost his license. Sidney Powell lost their license. What's that other lady's name that was running around with Rudy Giuliani? Jenna Ellis. Like every time these lawyers get involved with Donald Trump, they lose their license. So now you can't have lawyers who want to keep on their licenses or keep their licenses alive. Most of them just come up and then they become internet celebrities or they become Fox News hosts. So they're not really worried about their law license. They weren't in it for the law anyways. But here is Andrew McCarthy just explaining the case. Like there doesn't, from what we've seen, again, it could change. They could introduce new evidence. But even what they're claiming that Comey did doesn't make any sense. There doesn't seem to be any case here.
First, give us your reaction to the indictment.
Well, I don't think there's a case. You know, the things that Kash Patel that you just played that he was talking about that you and I have spoken about for years, Maria, the Russiagate stuff, I'm as big a critic of that probably as there is. I wrote a book about it. I think it was a disgrace, and history will remember it that way. This indictment is not about that, and it seems to be premised on something that's not true, which is that McCabe said that Comey authorized him to leak to the Wall Street Journal. If you look closely at what McCabe said was that he directed a leak to the Wall Street Journal and told Comey about it after the fact. So it's true that Comey never authorized it in the sense of okaying it before it happened. So I don't see how they can make that case.
What about the leaking in general? I mean, what about leaking a story that they may have known was a lie to the media? Because if you're the director of the FBI, you need the evidence to say, yeah, I mean, you know, for years, congressmen and lawmakers were trying to understand.
For my MAGA friends that are in the chat, Tim, I'll talk to you first. Like, you guys are all the same, and it's alarming. It's alarming how similar you are. We'll play something, and you just say, ha, 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 it's hilarious how wrong you are. But can any of you explain what the crime was here? Tim, Randall, I see you there. Can you tell me what crime James Comey committed here? I understand that like this is like a way to protect yourself, where just anything somebody says who isn't in the MAGA cult, you immediately dismiss. But can you tell me what crime he committed here? I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what happened here. Nobody can point to like a crime or evidence. Anybody want to guess if Tim Randall answers? Tim, I'll play the video while you come up with an answer. You tell me. Or you can come up here and treason. It's always fucking treason. Why do you guys always do that? Why do you always say treason? Do you know you have to levy war or give aid and comfort to the enemies? Like you literally have to like work with a foreign entity to get treason. So leaking something to the press is treason? That's how you guys view Donald Trump. That's the crazy thing. You think even if Comey leaked something, you view any attack of Donald Trump as treason, which is just further proof that none of you give a fuck about America. It is just Donald Trump. You're just in a cult. If criticizing or leaking information about your cult leader is treason, then that means you believe your cult leader is the country. Right? Like James Comey didn't help any of our enemies. What did he help him with? It was an act of war by leaking something to the press. I'm trying to teach you, David. I'm trying real hard. That's what we're doing here today. You just got to listen up. But your bitch ass said treason. So I had to laugh at that because that's fucking silly. Like nobody gets charged with treason for this. Donald Trump's people, like even the people that stormed the Capitol, they didn't even get treason charges. They got what was the Proud Boys charged with? Shit, what was it that what was it? What was that charge? Somebody let me know. But treason, give me a break.
Devin Nunes, John Radcliffe, trying to understand what's
Seditious
the origin
conspiracy.
Seditious conspiracy. Thank you.
of this investigation. So what was the origins of Russia collusion with Trump? And so they never really had any evidence of it, but they leaked.
What the fuck? How is Fox News real? They never had any real evidence of the origins of the Russian collusion with Trump. Well, first of all, the case wasn't about Russian collusion with Trump. It was about collusion with his campaign, which they found a lot of. These are, you guys laugh, like you're mad at me. These are not journalists. These are legitimately paid propagandists for the Trump administration. And I know that gets floated around like everybody's like CNN, that's paid propaganda. MSNBC, that's paid propaganda. A paid propagandist is somebody who is like directly funded by an administration. How many people have we pulled off of Fox News to be in the administration? How many? It's like 8 now. They campaigned. Sean Hannity stood and Tucker Carlson stood on a stage with Trump, endorsed him, took time away from their job as news broadcasters to campaign for somebody. These are like legitimately paid propagandists. So when they tell you that there was no evidence to connect Russia and Trump, that wasn't even the fucking investigation. It was about his campaign, and his campaign worked with Russia openly. They played Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort both pled guilty to doing exactly that. That's why, like, there's your lesson today, MAGA. Whoever asked me for the, what was it? Was it Richard that asked me for the lesson? There's your lesson for today. Go look at what the Russian investigation was. It was an investigation into any and all connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, and there were a lot. You know who the middleman was? Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's up on stage with Trump during that election. He was one of his senior advisors, and he was taking his data from Cambridge Analytica, and he was sharing it with the Trump administration and Russia. And both the Trump administration and Russia took that data and created Facebook ads and social media ads to target specifically MAGA or potential MAGA voters. And Steve Bannon was literally a senior advisor to the Trump administration and the campaign. That to keep calling that as a hoax is to say that like the sun is fake. The sun never comes out. It's always dark here. Calling it a hoax, just like if you say that, if you say Russia, 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 or if you call it a Russian hoax, you're in a cult because all of those things happened. People pled guilty to it. But because your cult revolves around Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has replaced the United States of America, and he's replaced Republicans, and he's replaced democracy, and now the whole party is just Donald Trump, you can't even read something correctly. You can't even read about that investigation and be like, oh, wait a minute. So this wasn't investigating Trump? This was investigating his campaign and a bunch of people pled guilty and there were 34 indictments? Oh, crazy. Oh, crazy. They did. And then Trump's own FBI and CIA and the Republicans in Congress and the Senate all investigated this by themselves, like independently, and they all came to the exact same conclusion that Russia interfered in our elections and that they worked with members of Trump's team. Everybody agreed with this except for Trump, who just kept calling it a hoax. And because you guys don't listen to Republicans, you only listen to Trump, that narrative won. And now your newscasters, who, by the way, Maria Bartiromo, go read her personal emails. You can go read them in the Dominion lawsuit, where she specifically says, yes, we are lying to our viewers, but we lie to them because if we don't lie to them, they'll go to Newsmax and they'll go to OAN. So in emails, this person is caught admitting that they lie. Sean Hannity, caught admitting. Tucker Carlson, caught admitting. Jesse Waters, caught admitting. And they were all talking about the stock price. Well, if we tell the truth, what about our stock price? And you still think that, like, I'm fake news. You can literally watch in real time who funds me. I say their name in real time, and you still think that we're fake. There's no way to, like, coexist with your reality and our reality. You call everybody else fake news. You call everybody else bought and paid for. And you guys are the ones that are bought and paid for. You know why? Because nobody would fucking pay me to say this. Who the fuck is going to pay me to advocate that billionaires get taxed more and that tax money goes to pay for healthcare and that we slash the military budget and that we have free education and that we have free, like, postgraduate education? Who's going to fund that? What billionaire is going to be like, oh, you know what? I would like to pay way more in taxes. I don't think billionaires should exist. I don't think you should be able to get to $1 million while there are people that can't afford to live. Who the fuck would fund me for that? Nobody, right? But who would fund this? Every billionaire. You guys still think Charlie Kirk was like, Charlie Kirk had good ideas. Charlie Kirk was a guy who fought for what he believed in. Bull fucking shit. Charlie Kirk was a paid propagandist. $140 million budget every year, more than any late night TV. 140 million. And Israel was like, hey, we'll give you 150 million. Why don't you toe our line? We'll give you 150 million. Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin all got paid $400,000 a week to push Russian propaganda. And what do you have over here? Who are the people who've been caught taking money over here? Nobody? That's why we've got a problem here. Republicans, I would love to be able to have conversations with all of you. I would love for our country to have real discussions. But how? How do you want me to approach this? When everything we say, you guys assume is paid for and it's a lie, and then you turn on actual paid for lies. You know what I saw this weekend watching the Ryder Cup? I don't know if anybody else saw this. During the Ryder Cup, there was a commercial about how cool oil is. A super PAC paid for a commercial during the Ryder Cup that aired every half hour. It was like, oil's really cool, guys. Green energy's dumb anyways. Remember, you wouldn't have clothes or cars or shoes or pencils or hair products without oil. Oil's cool. Think about it. We have oil barons that have so much fucking money in this country that they are now trying to use commercials to get you to think oil's cool. And you do it. You all do it. You're like, green energy is a scam. Okay. Better air is a scam. Okay. Free energy that is renewable, that comes to your house every day that you don't have to pay for, that's a scam. Who the fuck do you think is paying for that? Oil companies. And you're like, oh, there's all these people that are paying for the green new energy scam. Yeah, who? Who's paying for a green new energy scam? What billionaire would fund that? They don't make any money. It's renewable. There's no consistent revenue. It's not a big money maker for them. In fact, in the solar industry, the only people making money in the solar industry, like that work besides like the owners, are the sales reps who sell solar door to door for residential, and they take a portion of the government subsidy. Government gives you some money, and they get a portion of that, and they make thousands of dollars selling solar, which we don't need them either. I think they've also made it so that people don't want solar, because now people associate solar energy with somebody knocking on their fucking door and hard selling them into solar panels. Just reminder, I have solar. It's great. But you guys saying that this like we're paid propaganda while you watch this is fucking crazy to me.
To the press?
Yeah, we lost the Ryder Cup. Europe won.
Yeah, but that's not what this case is about. I totally agree with you if you were talking about the information that was provided to the FISA court that claimed that Trump was in collusion with the Kremlin. But that's not what this case is about. What this case is about is Comey is accused of lying because what Ted Cruz said, and this, yeah, right, and what Cruz said, and I think this was just a garble on his part, was that Comey authorized McCabe to orchestrate the leak. And what the Inspector General found, and this isn't even just what the Inspector General found, this is McCabe's own version of events.
Right.
McCabe said...
So we're clear, what he's citing right now, he's like, look, here's what Republicans are saying, but we have had, Congress has investigated this, the FBI's investigated this, we've had Inspector Generals, like somebody assigned to look at this case who was a Republican, by the way, and all of them found the exact same thing, that there was no crime committed.
That he directed the leak, and he told Comey about it afterwards. Now, they have a dispute about what exactly McCabe told Comey afterwards and whether Comey was approving or disapproving of it. But the charge is that Comey authorized the leak, and he didn't authorize the leak.
I see. Well, the judge assigned to this case...
I see. I realize that destroys the whole case. But let's talk about the judge now, because the judge is a lib. So when this eventually gets thrown out, they're going to be like, it's a lib judge. Fucking knew it. Who said that? You said solar panels are good for the environment, probably a bad investment. It's a great investment for me. I think I paid like $16,000. They should last for 30 years. I have like a 15-year warranty on my solar panels. And in the summer, it saves me about $400 a month. And then like from September until April, it saves me about $150 a month. Pretty good investment for me, honestly. That's a great investment. It'll more than pay for itself. I think solar is a really good investment. And I don't pay, I don't have to write a check to the sun every month. Just write a check to SRP for the power that I do use. Because we're also not allowed to have like a battery, and we have to hook to the grid. That might have changed now, but originally like you couldn't even have a battery, so I can't like store my own power, so I still have to pay SRP. Yeah. I was a 30-year Mormon. Is that true? Yeah, that's true, Brandon. I was a Mormon for 30 years. Went on a Mormon mission. I was like Mormon, like the Mormonist of the Mormon. Hey Benny, congrats by the way, being a member for 12 months. Longest member on YouTube. Appreciate that. All right, here's Ryan Crosswell. Wait, where is that? Yeah, there it is. Slamming Pam Bondi, because what we've seen here, and Republicans, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know why you guys can't admit this. I don't know why you refuse to live in reality. If you think that Donald Trump was targeted by a weaponized Department of Justice, I disagree with you, but like I get it. I understand what you're saying. Like I can understand feeling like you were targeted, but then like you guys targeted the Biden family forever. What we're seeing now is that the prosecutions are very, very selective. There are people in this country who are committing crimes, like politicians who are committing crimes, and this administration is saying it's fine, don't worry about it, we're not going to investigate those. But the same crimes or lesser crimes committed by somebody that's an opponent of Donald Trump, those get prosecuted. You have to see that, right? Like, you want to say whatever you want about Joe Biden and the Department of Justice being weaponized against Trump. Let's talk about it. It was 2 civil cases. That's not the Department of Justice. And then you have the New York case, which was also not the Department of Justice. So it wasn't like Biden didn't actually even have any control over any of those cases that went through. At the same time, his own Justice Department was investigating his son, and his attorney general recused himself. And they appointed a special prosecutor who was a Republican to investigate Joe Biden's own son with no input from Merrick Garland or Joe Biden. In fact, the stories coming out now is that Joe Biden was kind of pissed about it. He was a little bit upset with Merrick Garland because he said these were baseless, but Merrick Garland's like, I have to do this. There's an accusation there. I have to investigate it. Otherwise, it's going to look like we're picking and choosing and you're protecting your family. So that's what we know. Merrick Garland could be independent of Joe Biden. You can't be independent of Donald Trump here. He'll just keep firing everybody. Pam Bondi just does whatever he says. But here we have former DOJ prosecutor. This is Ryan Crosswell. just slamming Pam Bondi. And more people need to hear this.
Laura, it's a continuation of the abuse of power I witnessed firsthand, which led me to leave the job that I love and run for Congress.
Hold on. You literally censored the Republican base, pressured Google and Facebook to censor Republicans, and both companies have openly admitted it. I didn't do any of that, you goddamn psychopath. Secondly, I'm sorry. The people that got censored, that you're calling your base, the ones that lost their accounts, were Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes. Two Holocaust-denying folks. One of them an open Nazi, and the other one goes to school shootings and tells people that their children that died were crisis actors. So yeah, own that as your base if you want. Own it. But no regular Republican got censored or lost their platform. It was all the psychos. It was Laura Loomer. All these psychos lost their platform. And you guys, again, this is just further evidence to those on the left that are here watching this. Everything that happens to somebody on the right, they internalize it and they make it their own personal victimhood. And they take the actions of fucking Google and say it's us. Never called for it. In fact, on Friday, I openly said that the Biden administration overstepped. Clearly they overstepped. Clearly they went further than they should have. They were putting too much pressure. But even then, they didn't force anything. They didn't threaten anybody. This administration threatens people. I think they're both wrong. What you guys do is you take Trump doing anything wrong and you just try and find a connection for somebody on the left doing it, and then you claim that we don't care about it. I don't know if you're new to this show. On Friday, I told you we have that information, and they overstepped. But then you also have to acknowledge that Donald Trump demanded tweets be taken down while he was president the first time. So Donald Trump overstepped too. Both Biden and Trump overstepped. But this is different. This is commanding your attorney general to prosecute anybody that you don't like. And when they assign a prosecutor and the prosecutor says, there's nothing here to prosecute, they go, you're fired. We'll bring in somebody else. And then that prosecutor goes, I looked. I have nothing. I can't charge him with anything. Okay, you're fired too. Next one up, nothing. You're fired too. Who do we got? We got Lindsay Halligan. What's her experience? Oh, she has no experience? Yeah, perfect. Bring her in. I'll do it, boss. She was in the job less than 3 days before she brought these charges. You guys really think that somebody who's been on the job for 3 days did a full and thorough investigation of Comey and brought charges? You're out of your fucking minds. That's not possible. No prosecutor brings a case after 3 fucking days. There's no way. She was just told, you have to do this, and she did it. Go ahead, Republicans. Defend it. Defend 3 days on the job, no experience ever, brings a case that the last 3 people said there's no evidence, we can't bring a case. Explain it to me. Explain it to me like I'm 5. But explain it to me like I'm 5 and not in a cult, where I don't think that Donald Trump is God who can do no wrong. Grand jury doesn't bring the charges. The grand jury accepted the evidence. Again, like, I don't know if you guys know how anything works. I do think that Republicans all need to go and just take like a basic function of government class, because it is unfucking believable how you are doing the most like blatant and like transparent version of fascism I've ever seen, and none of you know that it's fascism. But can I just tell you real quick? Let me just read you Trump's. I'm going to use AI, but I want to read what like Trump basically ran for. Let me pull this up, and you just tell me if you think this is fascism or not. Let me just read it to you. Okay, so the AI generation. If I'm looking at like what did Trump run on? Says restoring law and order, trying to attack like socialists, communists, labor unions who are destroying the country. Trump said, you know, like, I'm the only one that can restore order. I'm your personal savior. And then you see like this coalescence around Trump with all these business leaders. It's all these business leaders, like the biggest landowners, and then just like the regular middle class who, you know, maybe you're not going to benefit the same way. But you're also afraid of the woke mind virus, right? The communist revolution. So that was part of it. Then reviving the economy. Trump kept saying like the economy was broken, that we had mass unemployment, which we didn't have. Do you remember him saying like the unemployment numbers were fake? And then he like appealed to, like, somehow he went to the industrialists, like the manufacturers, and he's like, hey, we're going to go after all your unions, but I'm still your guy. Like, I'm actually going to make it better for you. Now your unions aren't going to get in the way, and you can reshore all these jobs. And I'm going to make sure you landowners and you farmers and you developers, like, no more labor, no more labor shortages for you. No more unions advocating for more pay and ripping into your profits. We're going to get rid of that red tape. Right. And then just like the calls to national pride, saying that like we need to bring back the former glory of America, that we're going to have this national message. And Trump was like the guy. He's like, I love America. Nobody loves America more than me. I'm going to hug the flag like this. He was so charismatic. You all fell for his talking points, and you were under his spell. And he promised a powerful centralized state that like the executive branch would be stronger and we would lead America back to international prominence. Now, to the Republicans here, does that sound like fascism to you? Because to me, that sounds like fascism. Thumbs up, Republicans, if you think that sounds like fascism. Thumbs down if you don't think that sounds like fascism. We're just taking a poll. We do this every once in a while. I want to make sure the Republicans are involved. Thumbs up if that sounds like fascism. Thumbs down if that doesn't sound like fascism. Because to me, all those things Trump did, that sounds exactly like fascists. I only want Republicans here, by the way. No libs with the thumbs up or thumbs down here. Anybody? Randy, just stay on topic. I'm just asking you a question. Is that fascism? Raymond says no. What the fuck? That's not the Nazi playbook verbatim. No, it's not. You're the fascist. You're the fascist. No. Remember, if you stand for nothing. Anybody? Thumbs down. Thumbs down. All right. Now let me show you what I was reading here. I was reading about Mussolini. I just changed Mussolini to Trump over and over again. What was Mussolini's party that he ran on? The Fascisti? Oh, the original fascists? Oh, whoops. Oh, fucking whoops. You're fascist. It's the same fucking thing. This is the fascists. You don't know what fascism means. None of you fucking know what it means. You think it means a king. It doesn't. You are fascist. Donald Trump is a fascist. Stephen Miller is quoting fascists at Charlie Kirk's memorial. You don't know what the fuck it means. I just read you Mussolini's entire platform. They called themselves the Fascisti. That's who we're comparing you to. So when I ask you, does this sound like fascism to you? And you go, what the fuck, you psycho? You don't know what it means. That's why we call it fascism. Because it is. And just like Mussolini, Donald Trump is using all of this stuff that he campaigned on to take power and take control. Blame everybody but white Americans. Blame everybody but pure blood Italians. You guys don't know. You just honestly never fucking know. You're just all sensitive little bitches. Don't call me a fascist. Okay, here's what fascism is. Yeah, that sounds perfect. That's what I want. So you're a fascist? No. What? This is why the country's violent, because you keep accurately depicting us as fascists. You see how fucking easy that was? You guys could have just read. You could just be like, instead of being hysterical little bitches, you could just be like, what is fascism? And just Google it. And be like, oh, that sounds right. I showed you the clip last week for those of you who weren't here. It was like this guy that's like, you know what's crazy? I went back, and now that you can translate through AI, you can take these Hitler speeches and translate them. He doesn't sound that bad. Oh, yeah, you don't say. You don't say. He sounds exactly like you. And the key component of fascism, and the reason that we're upset about it, is not because of like all of these things. It's because of how you go about it. There is no blame from your side. Everything you do is perfect, and everything the other side does is evil. and it's an attack on you. And there's these groups of people, these pesky immigrants and these pesky woke people. Those are the real evil people. The anti-fascists, Antifa. Wait, didn't we just make anti-fascism illegal here in America through executive order? How do you do that? We're not fascist. Okay, what are you going to make illegal? Anybody who talks, anybody who's anti-fascist, that's illegal now. Look how mad they are. Look how mad these fuckers are. Look how fucking mad you are. This is what I'm saying. Like, how do we? This is why we're so frustrated, because the word fascist is fucking accurate. And you called me a fascist. I don't advocate for this shit. I can't be fascist with my viewpoints. I don't advocate for this. Fascism is blaming all of your problems on a group of people and saying that getting rid of that group of people or that ideology is going to fix everything. And then because you believe it so much, you'd start dehumanizing the other side. So now we're not human. That's why you guys are mad at me right now. That's why you're calling me names right now. That's why some of you legitimately, like, your heart rate went up and you're, oh, this motherfucker, this is what I'm talking about. These are the people we need to get rid of in America. Every fucking one of you tomorrow, if Trump came out and said, hey, civil war starts today, you're all in, every one of you. And you'd be like, we wouldn't do this if you didn't call us fascist. And that's not why. The reason you would all go to civil war with Donald Trump is because you don't fucking read. You don't fact check anything. So you don't know that, like, all of these cities, like Chicago, historic lows with crime right now. That the biggest problem in our country is caused right now by the oligarchs swallowing up all of the money and all of the resources. But no, it's probably gay people and immigrants. You know what's even more crazy is a lot of you guys are here every day and you watch me bait you into this shit and then prove that you're fascist, and you still fall for it every fucking time. No, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? No, Tyler, I'm loud, and I might be arrogant, but I'm also right. And I'd like to point out once again, fascists, before anything, are cowards, which is why none of them will come up and defend any of this stuff. We give you an open invitation every day to come up here and have a conversation with me. And then the same people are like, I would never talk to this guy. I'll just talk to him by typing. You're all part of a fascist movement. And I recognize right now, just so we're clear, that's illegal in this country. If I keep talking like this, your administration is going to come after me. I understand that. I have a family that I'm worried about. I have very bad things happening all the time in my life. I'm being doxxed all over the fucking internet. But unlike you, not a pussy. So we're still going to say it. But I just want you to know that in this America that you guys love, what I'm doing puts my life in danger right now. It puts me in danger of going to jail right now by accurately showing you guys that you're fascist and you just don't know what it means because you're too busy being offended about fucking everything.
Laura, it's a continuation of the abuse of power I witnessed.
Sorry, back to Ryan Croswell here. Ryan Croswell is now going to tell us how this fascist administration is abusing their power.
Laura, it's a continuation of the abuse of power I witnessed firsthand, which led me to leave the job that I love and run for Congress here in Pennsylvania. I think this is unprecedented in American history. You have a president who put out an enemies list, essentially, then prevailed upon his attorney general to pursue one of the people on that list, which she did, and now you have the attorney general saying that there'll be more to come. And I think the most galling part about all of this was that Pam Bondi also said no one's above the law. Except we know that's not true. Eric Adams is above the law. Tom Homan is above the law. Apparently anybody in the Epstein files is above the law. And really anyone who's a friend of Donald Trump's is above the law. At the same time that they're pursuing these charges against James Comey. I have no doubt that he will not be convicted.
Really? Why are you so sure?
Because of this. Well, first of all, I think that there's going to be a very valid selective or vindictive prosecution motion that just may stop this in its tracks. But the facts are contradicted by the IG's report, and it's being brought by a U.S. attorney whose previous experience is an insurance attorney, whose first indictment was so sloppy, the paragraph...
Guys, hit your bingo again. He's quoting CNN as a source. That's not CNN. This is CNN. This is a prosecutor who worked, I believe, for Trump, and he resigned because Trump let Eric Adams break the law. Eric Adams was just taking bribes from foreign countries, and Ryan Croswell's like, we have to prosecute this. And Trump's like, no, but he might help me out, so we're not going to prosecute him. And so he quit because he has ethical standards, which none of you have.
Were misnumbered, and there was 2 count twos. And it appears she has to go this alone because no one else in the office was willing to do it.
Mark.
Yeah, Tommy, what's Comey guilty of? Everybody check with Thomas Maddox. Just keep following. Thomas said that Comey is guilty as fuck, and he's not going to be able to tell us what Comey's guilty as fuck for. But Thomas, in the chat, will you just let us know what Comey's guilty of? For anybody who says might think what I just said was hyperbolic, I want to show you a new Trump executive order. And let me just tell you, I am nervous about this. I'm currently trying to find an attorney just to have on, I guess not on retainer, on standby in case something happens. But there's a new executive order that came out, the NSPM 7. Directs a new national strategy to disrupt any individuals or groups that foment political violence, including before, this is the scary part, including before they result in violent political acts. Now, I get that, like, this seems like I wouldn't really fall into this category, right? Because I'm not asking you guys to be violent. And for those of you that are Republicans, you're like, yeah, you wouldn't, like, you're not in any trouble. This is hyperbolic. I agree. If I just read that, I'd be like, all right. Before they result in physical, all right. So if I planned something, should I be held accountable for planning to do something violent, even if it doesn't happen? Yeah, I think that's a fair interpretation of the law. In other words, they're targeting pre-crime to reference Minority Report. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities who NPSM says can be identified by any of the following indicators. Here's now who they target: anybody who is anti-Americanism. What is that? What is anti-Americanism? And why can't I be that? Whatever it is, why can't I be that in America? If you're not a fascist, you have to admit that being anti-American is perfectly acceptable in this country. That you can wake up every day and criticize this country. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it a shithole country if you want. You can talk as much shit about America as you want. Somebody said McCarthyism. For anybody who's not familiar with McCarthyism, this isn't the first time we've done this in America. Capitalists, the richest people in this country, pay for people in Congress to protect their crony capitalism. So they don't want anybody to bring up socialism or communism, and they call it anti-American. Don't believe me? Why did Jeff Bezos say that you can't, in the Washington Post now, you can't write anything critical of capitalism? Capitalism is not part of our country. It's not like part of our laws. We don't have to be capitalists. We could be socialists if we wanted to. Now, I don't think we could be communists, because communists, you'd have to undo the Constitution. So I would say that, like, if we were practicing true communism, that would be unconstitutional. But what the fuck is anti-Americanism? What's up, Jen?
Raymond decided to join us from YouTube.
All right.
So he's over in the chat. If you want to check any, I know there's a Venmo.
Yeah, let me get through this list, and I'll check those, and then I'll jump on with Raymond. So Raymond, be patient for a second. Anti-capitalism. Again, why can't you be anti-capitalist in this country? If you guys aren't fascist, why? Why can't I be that? Anti-Christianity. Excuse me? Our president says I can't be anti-Christian. Why can't I be anti-Christian? Support for the overthrow of the United States government? Okay, that makes sense to me. But what does that mean? Seems like they think that if I'm anti-Christian, anti-capitalist, or anti-Americanism, that maybe I'm supporting the overthrow of the United States government. Extremism on migration? So if I advocated for open borders, extremism on race, I don't even know what that means. Like, extremism on race seems like that thing that you guys keep doing where you put, like, black people all in one category, and anytime a black person commits a crime, you're like, see? What would the extremism be on race from my side? Extremism on gender, which I assume is just saying like you can identify as whatever gender you want. Now, here's where it gets weird. Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family. We're talking about a mom and a dad, a straight American family. And if I have hostility towards that, I can be targeted by this administration? Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion? Isn't the view on religion that like you can or cannot practice any religion you want and the government can't say shit? So what are that's the traditional American view on religion, right? Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on morality? Why can't I be hostile? We're outlining hostility, and the executive branch is saying we are going to target you. All of these can be interpreted however the fuck they want. You can't tell me this isn't fascism. And if you do, I'm gonna need a good argument, Raymond. While you're waiting, let me check comments real quick, and then I'll come to you, Raymond. Sorry to make you wait. I think I got those.
Make sure you update the gift goal too.
I will.
Also, I want to remind everybody when these conversations start happening, we kind of forget about the gift goal. So if we still want to knock that out before the end of the show. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats to knock out that gift goal.
Jamar said Monday money moving maniacal minds manually. That was hard to say. Thank you. Thank you, Trudy, for the super chat. Amy Lynn said then Trump allowed the sale of U.S. steel to Japan. Also, Trump and Bondi both talked about taking pew-pews without due process. They're coming for your pew-pews. Not yours, but they'll probably come for mine. Trump making America great again through disbarment of shitty lawyers. Corvette Girl said, I feel like we need to laugh after the show. Okay, I read that one. I think I'm all caught up. You said that he was in the other chat? Right, okay.
Yeah.
And it's Raymond, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, Raymond?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, can you do me a favor? If you're watching the stream, will you just mute that because we'll get an echo?
Yeah, I just did that. I figured that would be the case.
Perfect. All right, what's on your mind?
So I was just hopping in because when we were going through the reading of Mussolini's platform that got him elected into Italy, kind of being the hyper nationalist, appealing to the right wing, and did kind of it just replaced Mussolini with Trump, right? And just ran through all that. And my point is that opinions on Trump kind of aside, it's to make the point of okay, we're in fascism now. I think two things from that. One is that you can draw comparisons between different political campaigns because broadly speaking, a lot of campaigns are going to look relatively similar when it comes to certain things, especially certain times, like World War II. I think a lot of things that maybe like Churchill did, which was appealing to very nationalist sentiments too. I mean, you're in World War II era. That's going to make sense. Fascism, being a governmental structure, and of course, on the spectrum, we're talking about far right. I just think that it's a little disingenuous to try to pull the oh gotcha when broad strokes look similar, but when we're talking about two different timelines and two different goals, it's very different. So that was kind of my position. That's kind of why I was like,
why is it different? What's different about it?
Sorry, say that again.
What's different about it? Besides, like, obviously it's a different year. You had potentially like World War II on the horizon, but we didn't have World War II yet. So what's the difference?
Sure. Well, when we get into kind of the goal of what both sides want to do with the government, I don't believe that the Trump administration is looking to implement fascism per se. Now, again, kind of
why not?
Well, because at the end of the day, we're not seeing the kinds of centralizations of power that I think kind of go hand in hand with fascism. For example, Trump hasn't taken the kind of control of the military that a more fascist government would need in order to solidify power. I
Wait,
really do
what?
believe.
He just sent in the military to 2 states who didn't want it. He just federalized the National Guard in 2 states.
Yeah, no, and
After he's been after, but sorry, I should have, my bad for leaving a gap there, but like the courts have already ruled against him that he can't do this, and he's doing it anyways.
Well, yeah, and I think that's actually going to be a good point here, is that in order to centralize the power, he'd need much more direct control than he has, right? And the courts are saying, all right, and again, now there's this court battle back and forth.
Wait, real quick. Do you think
Yeah.
that the military would tell him no? You think Pete Hegseth would tell Donald Trump no?
Uh, I believe probably in certain circumstances, yeah. I mean,
Give me an example, because right now seems like that circumstance. The court ruled against Trump, said he can't do this. Trump said we're going to do it anyways, and they're doing it anyways.
I'm not super familiar with the court case itself. Was that decided at the district court level?
It was from California. It was from California, and they ruled that Trump can't use posse comitatus in these situations because there's no actual declared emergency, and the governors are not declaring a state of emergency or asking for the help.
Yeah, I actually think that that's a really interesting point right now that a lot of Trump's actions are bringing up, is the fact that you have district courts, which are the lower level courts on the federal level, blocking administrative action being taken at the executive, at the presidential level.
What was a federal court
And
ruling, by the way?
I'm sorry.
It was a federal court ruling, by the way.
Right. The district courts in the federal system, right? You have the trial level district courts, then you'll have the Court of Appeals, then you'll have the Supreme Court. And it's actually a fascinating area of debate right now in legal circles, is how much power should be vested with the kind of the lower level courts in the federal system. Should a judge somewhere in a court, like lower level, not Court of Appeals, not Supreme Court, be able to unilaterally block executive action for the national level? Now,
Okay, but that's a fun conversation, but let's have the real important conversation. We could argue whether or not they should have that authority, and that should work its way through the court. But what we're seeing in reality, like, that part doesn't fucking matter to me. What matters to me is that the executive branch, for some reason, thinks they don't have to listen to the courts, and that is blatantly unconstitutional. Of course they have to listen to the courts. That's the check against their power. So when Donald Trump is saying, "Go fuck yourself, courts," we'll figure this out later. Like, this is how fascism works. Donald Trump ignores court orders like it's his job.
Well, no, and I think that's kind of there's a nuance here in what court is being disrespected. Now,
It's not about disrespect. It's about checks and balances. You have to understand that whether the court ruling gets overturned or not, whether you like the court ruling or not, as the president of the United States, there are checks and balances, and you are required, obligated to oblige those checks and balances. That's how our Constitution works. If the executive branch just takes control of the military and says, "Go fuck yourself," then we are in an authoritarian takeover. You cannot have a president who tells the courts, "Nah."
Well, and that's kind of the thing that I want to get at with the what court, because I know we kind of skipped over it's an interesting conversation about how much power the court should have, but that actually is the conversation, because should a district court judge just somewhere, and there's many of them, should a district court judge be able to unilaterally say that an executive action which the president is vested with, which is indeed commander in chief of the armed forces, be able to tell the commander in chief, actually, no, I don't want you to do that, so I'm going to override that.
That's not what they ruled. They ruled that there are certain measures, that there are certain criteria to act under posse comitatus, and that they didn't invoke any of the legal exceptions that allow them to invoke posse comitatus. There are strict rules for when you can do this, and they didn't invoke any of the legal exceptions. They just went. They just did it. They just said, we're doing this. And by the way, like, this is literally in Project 2025. Before it, like, they talk about, oh, California was out of control, and so we had to do this. Well, they had a written plan to do it. They had, before anything ever happened in California, they already planned to challenge this in the courts. And again, just one more time, I understand it's an interesting conversation. So let's just say that this court overstepped its boundaries and this shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
We need to fix that. That doesn't mean that the president just gets to do whatever the fuck he wants until it's fixed.
Well, no, exactly. What needs to happen from here is that gets appealed. In the meantime, the president continues doing what he's been vested to do as commander in chief of the military. And then we get into Court of Appeals and potentially Supreme Court area, which, again, I think just like in terms of.
So why do we have these courts then? What's the point of these courts if every time the court rules against the president? By the way, this is what Trump's going to do. There hasn't been a quick appeal on that. Did you notice that?
Right. Yeah.
Why do you think there's why do you think there's no quick appeal, and instead everybody in the executive branch and every Republican prognosticators out there going, oh, well, this needs to be adjudicated. This seems wrong. It almost seems like they're just letting it sit there and they've cast enough doubt for Republicans to be okay with this, and they actually don't want a ruling. It seems like they would rather this just sit in limbo so they can continue to do whatever they want, which is exactly what all fascists do. They ignore the law and they convince all of their followers that it's okay because the reason these people are ruling against us is because they just don't like us.
Well, so in terms of like what the appeal process is for that, typically there's a for lack of a better word, kind of a statute of limitations on appeal. You have a certain amount of time to do that, and I think that the Department of Justice filed that September 3rd
with the Ninth Circuit, yeah, and they're just not even pressing it. We've seen this same administration, when they want a ruling from the Supreme Court that they think they're going to win, they apply pressure and it gets done quickly. And we've seen this Supreme Court acquiesce to Trump and move things up their agenda. But this one's just sitting there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, from a legal standpoint, that absolutely is, though the statutes of limitation absolutely are used to stretch political goals or strategy goals. When a side knows it's going to lose, they're going to stretch out a case. That's just kind of court in general, right? But
you're just kind of pussyfooting fascism, though. That's the thing. Like, I understand how this works. But what you're saying is the court ruled, put in a temporary injunction on the Trump administration, which is part of our legal process, which is how our Constitution works. And this president is saying, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do it anyways.
Well, yeah, we kind of see.
Is that a problem for you that the president is saying, I don't care what the courts say?
Well, can I step back and like make a point?
No, I need no, because I feel like we've done this. I need to get an explanation of why it's okay for the president, while they're appealing, to just break the law.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's not necessarily against the law when there hasn't been a higher court ruling on it.
Yes, it absolutely is. It is. This is the law until another court rules differently. This is the law. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these district courts. There are a lot of cases that are adjudicated in the district courts, and then they appeal, and the appeal is rejected. They don't even hear the appeal. We don't even know if they're going to hear this appeal or not. A lot of laws stand with the district courts. Most, like 95% of them, stick with the district courts. So what you're advocating right now is just saying, fuck the Constitution, fuck our setup of courts. Until this gets to the Supreme Court, Trump can do what he wants. That's not how the law works.
So that's putting words in my mouth. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that when we're looking at the district court level, there's hundreds of judges. And again, I know we kind of keep skipping over, it's an interesting question, but it's the key question. how much power should a district court judge have?
It's not the key
to
question. The
impose-
key question is, can the president ignore a district court ruling because he wants to? That's the question. You're shifting the conversation. I don't care about that conversation. That conversation takes care of itself during the appeal process. And what Trump should be doing right now is following that ruling. And then we can have this discussion. But that is nowhere near the most important question. The question I want answered is, why does this administration and all of their followers think that it's okay for the president to just say, no, thanks? Our Constitution doesn't work if we don't follow court orders.
See, again, I know we keep hammering on this point, but the important point is that this is the question. I know you don't think
it is not the question. The question is, can the president ignore a district court injunction? That's the question.
They filed an appeal, so it's not ignoring.
Yes, it is, because he's doing exactly what they ruled he can't do. Can you just point to a part of? Can you point to the part of our law that says, if the executive branch has an injunction against them, they can continue to operate in defiance of that injunction until the appeal is heard? Or is it the other way around, where they're required to adhere to that injunction until the appeal is heard?
Well, that's the thing. I think our system's a little screwy with that, because we also saw.
No, there's a clear answer to this. Wait, no, you got to answer this clearly. What does the law say currently? I'm fine if you want to change the law. Currently, what does the law say?
This is kind of why I wanted to hop on, because there's a lot of the over talking and this is the point. This is the point.
Well, you keep saying that it's not the point. Like, you keep changing the point. My question to you repeatedly is, can the president ignore an injunction? And I just want to know, the way that the law is written currently, does the law give the executive branch the ability to ignore an injunction from a district court?
Oh, hold on. Again, putting words in my mouth. And
no, I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a new question. Does the way the law?
You said I've been changing the topic. I haven't. I mean,
will you answer that question at some point?
But I'm trying to make the point that
you can make. I promise. I've given you a lot of time. I promise I'll give you time to make your point. I need you to answer this question first. The way that the law is written now, does the executive branch have the authority to ignore an injunction from a district court?
Technically, no, but there's rules for the way that they can continue to act. Again, the district court is the first level of that.
Who's they? The executive branch? Is that what you're saying?
Say it one more time.
When you say they, when you said there's ways they can act, are you talking about the executive branch?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, you're good.
The confusion there. So yes, we've seen examples of presidents who get an injunction from a district court and do ignore it and continue doing what they're doing until it gets stopped at a higher point. And I think my
could you give me an example of that?
Let's see. Off the top of my head, you're stretching my history knowledge a little bit. But I do know that in the past, and if I have a second to Google it, I might have to do that. But I do know that there's been injunctions. I know that Biden faced injunctions when he was attempting to do the student loan forgiveness thing, and that was found to be unconstitutional. And that had to make its way up through the courts.
But he complied with the injunction.
His administration continued the path towards doing that.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. What they did is they took funds that had already been congressionally approved, and they just moved up the timeline. So when Congress has approved, like there's a lot of student loan forgiveness that Congress has passed laws, but it'll be like after you've been in the job for 10 years, then you get your student loan paid back. And what Biden did is he took money that had already been approved for student loan forgiveness and he moved up the timeline. But all the other stuff, like the stuff that the courts ruled that he couldn't do, which I think they were right to rule that, they stopped that. So no, Biden didn't. I'm looking at all the instances that I can find of people ignoring injunctions, and it's like it's right now it's like it's Trump, and then you go back to like 1861 when John Merriman was in Maryland, and he was pro-Confederate, and they argued that only Congress could suspend habeas corpus, and they ordered Merriman's release. That's the last time I see an example since. And then Nixon with Watergate, when he was required to turn over the Watergate tapes, and he refused to do it. So that's another Republican.
Yeah, I don't know how many district court judges have issued injunctions on things like National Guard deployment or
one, and we're ignoring it right now because for some reason, millions of people in this country have decided that the Constitution's meaningless now, and whatever Trump wants to do, he gets to do, even if the courts rule against him.
Yeah, and I think you and I can at least find common ground on that. That I myself, the Constitution is very important to this country. I think the rights enshrined in the Constitution are very important, and that just saying, you know what, we're just gonna do whatever we want. That's not how this works.
Is that fascism?
Yeah, you know what, man, if we continue along this and Trump really does have that out for, the long-term goal and he gets to do that, yeah, I think that absolutely would be. I just think why
does he have to be successful in order for it to be fascist? Like, do we only get to call fascists after once they've been successful? Because he's trying fascism. He's clearly trying it.
Well, I think things like fascism, communism, those kinds of things do take more than just an approach to, again, maybe you think I'm being on, a very technical level, but like just because someone wants to push things in a rightward direction, fascism really only survives if it's the only political party, right? Like if it was in Nazi Germany, right? Like the Nazis couldn't just hold free elections, right? They would have to. If
so
they did
all of these things I just read from Trump's new executive order, and Stephen Miller saying that the left needs to be destroyed, and now they're talking about like a RICO case against the left with Antifa, and that anybody who gave support to Antifa, that they're going to do a nationwide RICO case. Yeah, dude, like we're just doing it. And I know that for you and for everybody on the right, I get it. You guys want to wait and see because you don't want to admit it. But I'm a real fucking person. I have a child. This is my livelihood, and I have the president of the United States saying that things I say openly, like saying fascism, can get me thrown in jail and get me linked to a RICO case.
Well, let me like meet you on the level too. I've got a kid too, man. A lot of things in this country do worry me very much, for sure, and I completely empathize with looking at the direction of things and sounding the alarm. I certainly get that because again, do I personally like somebody saying, "Hey, I'm just going to ignore the court order"? No, I approach that from a legal standpoint, where we're having that conversation of what does the executive branch get to do in that. But
but you're not having that conversation with me because can the executive branch ignore an injunction? Legally, like by the way our law is written, can the executive branch ignore an injunction?
No, I think the way our law is written right now, no, I don't think that's the case.
Okay, so like I get it. I know people don't want to say fascism, but this guy's just doing it. He's just saying fuck you, dude. It is crazy. Portland is fine. Chicago is fine. They're taking care of business. They're bringing down crime rates. This is exactly what Mussolini did. It's exactly what Hitler did. They demonize people, they demonize ideologies, and they get all of their followers worked up to believe that they are in trouble, and that they should fear us. We are not hurting you. We're not nothing. We're not doing anything that we're not allowed to do in this country, and yet I'm being put on lists. My name, my address, it's out on like dark websites. The government certainly has it. I get reported all the time. Somebody clipped something the other day out of context and sent it to the government, and acting like I'm advocating for violence. This is a very scary time for us, and I'm looking at you the same way that the Jewish folks early on looked at the people who were like, "Are you not seeing this? Are you not seeing this direct attack on us? Like we've already thrown people in jail in this country without due process for openly supporting the Palestinians in jail.
Yeah, no, if I can I think if I can meet you on the level real quick. Yeah, I don't support people's speech getting them tossed in jail or being monitored by the government. I don't think that's a good thing. I think we are living in a scary time right now. I think people are scared and have a right to feel scared. It's not easy. I mean, 2 weeks ago, when Mr. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I went and picked up my daughter from daycare when I heard that, man. I mean, that's a scary thing. And it's not right. I actually agree with you a lot about the crime stuff. We're living in historically a low crime period compared to the 90s. I don't justify sending troops into cities because of crime. I do think we're on a little bit of an uptick, but that's something that Chicago and Washington D.C. It's something that they got to deal with on a local level. Dealing with how do you police the community so that you reduce crime. But we're living in a scary time. I think a lot of people are hyped up for good reasons. There's a lot of people.
Do you think the riot is hyped up for a good reason? I honestly, to be honest, I cannot figure out what the riot is upset about right now. I honestly can't. How are they feeling attacked right now?
Well, I mean, I can speak at least from my view, kind of being, probably more right than center kind of guy overall. It was a scary couple weeks. It's a very micro event, I think, the death of one person, but watching the reactions to it, and me personally losing friends over it, because the same way I lost friends back in the day with the whole punch Nazi thing, Richard Spencer got clocked, and that was all over social media. I don't support political violence, and watching people celebrate it, especially when it's somebody who, as far as the spectrum goes, is more on your spectrum than not.
Could I offer something? I think you
go for it.
you only react when it's on your side. Because hold on, because I doubt you were I doubt you were openly critical of Charlie Kirk and his friends mocking the man who broke in and beat Nancy Pelosi with a hammer. I doubt you are openly critical of the people who openly celebrated the day that George Floyd died. I bet you I bet you didn't spend much time criticizing Mike Lee on the day that those two Democratic politicians were assassinated earlier this year. Like I know what you're saying, because I lost a really close friend after what happened to Pelosi's husband, because what I tried to point out is that they'll laugh when it's the left, but when it's the right, it's total crisis mode. I didn't laugh at either of those. I live streamed here, and I will say that there's not a single Democratic leader, like an elected leader, who mocked Charlie Kirk on that day. Not one. Not one.
Yeah.
So I think that I just want to just finish. It seems to me that Republicans are okay with all political violence until it happens to them, and then they're willing to undo the Constitution. Like now you guys have you've allowed this thing that happened to Charlie Kirk, which is terrible. Like, I don't like political assassinations either, but you've allowed that to get everybody's so worked up now that they were like, fuck the Constitution, fuck this country, fuck everything. Donald Trump, take revenge. It's the same mistake we made after 9/11. When we're like, fine, we're going to bomb the whole fucking Middle East. We don't care anymore. Even though it was like Saudi funded, we went to Iraq and Afghanistan. I feel like you guys right now are making that same mistake, and it probably hits closer to home for me, because it's my life in danger. It's my friends' lives that's in danger. It's American lives in danger. All because something happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, if I can, I've got, a lunch break. I gotta get back to work, but if I can just wrap up real quick. Me personally, when George Floyd was murdered, I certainly did lose friends because they said some racist stuff, and I was like, it's not cool. It's not.
Did you stop listening to Charlie Kirk?
Did I stop listening to Charlie Kirk? At that time, I wasn't listening to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but you're aware that he openly mocked George Floyd?
Not in particular. I've only kind of listened to. I was only really on the college debate thing for the last year and a half.
Okay, then you're aware that he was calling for the end of the Civil Rights Act? You're aware that he didn't think we should celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday anymore?
Well, see, now again, Charlie Kirk, I said, is more politically aligned on my spectrum than not, but there's no one I agree with 100%. So
No, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like, your outrage is selective. Your outrage seems to be
well,
when it comes in your direction.
That's what I'm trying to make the point of, is that my outrage isn't selection, right? And that's just me. Maybe broadly speaking, Republicans it is, but that's just me. When somebody is assassinated, I certainly am not cool with that. George Floyd was murdered in the street by a racist police officer.
By our government. That's the biggest difference.
Right.
Our government
Well, yeah,
killed George Floyd.
Yeah. Right, police officers, agents of the government. Yeah, absolutely. And so I just want to level with you before I got to go back to work, man. Me personally, I think what we need to do more of is less of kind of the gotchas, less of the trying to own each other, because I don't like that. I don't like that's what Charlie Kirk's all his videos were like that. Hey, Charlie Kirk owns so and so. Not a fan of that. I'm a fan of people sitting down, talking through discussions. And again, is that the case for every single situation ever in life? No. Sometimes there's emergencies or whatever. But, just from a guy to guy, person to person standpoint here, one, I just want to say I like what you're doing. I like that you have this platform and that you talk to people. Two, just me. What I want to see in this country is less of the owning, less of the partisanship, and trying to come together. And maybe we would be able to look at what Trump's doing and go, you know what, we're not cool with that. We need to move away from that, and maybe more people would be willing to take that step too. And finally, hey man, dad to dad, man, I totally get it. I get why you'd be feeling anxious. I'm feeling anxious too. And for a lot of things, from my queer friends, from my black friends, from my my friends of color, it's a scary world right now. I feel like a lot of people are scared, and I just want to come on.
Then for using your voice going forward, why aren't you using your voice then to sound the alarm?
Well,
I hope you do.
Well, in my personal life, I do, and I do volunteer with organizations and stuff like that. I don't have a platform. What I do is very community focused. That's what I do to try to make a little bit of a difference. I just kind of saw this and want to hop on, have the conversation with you. And like I said, I do gotta go back to work because otherwise I'll be in trouble. Man, thanks for having me on. Thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks,
appreciate it.
We'll see it. One of the first times it didn't end in a crash out. I appreciate that. Look, I appreciate the sentiments there. And people are going to call cap or whatever, but I think this is why I've made the decision that, like, I'm not going to stop saying fascism, because I want people to talk to me about it. I want it to get out there. And if we just go like issue by issue, people aren't maybe going to respond in the same way. But like, this is real fascism. We're there. It's happening. And if you don't think we're there, like, just remember that your government is trying to stop people from criticizing them. They are trying to outlaw criticism of them, even just by name. And one more thing. I don't think that any of these attacks on right-wingers are linked to the word fascism. It seems to be that most of these issues, most of the violence perpetrated by the right onto the left, generally has to do with things like abortion, immigration, and trans people. It doesn't really have anything to do with fascism. It's never like in the manifesto, like, they called me a fascist, so now I'll show them. It's always about these weird social issues where I get like why they get so enraged, because there's nothing you can fucking do to stop people from having sex with whoever the fuck they want, right? There's nothing that you can do individually to stop immigration. And if you believe that these people are coming after your kids and nothing is being done to stop them, then it leads people to violence. But the reality is, they're not coming after your kids. I saw this awful video. In fact, I won't play it. I saw an awful video from Raging Tomato where we used to go, and Sarah got in a debate with somebody and said basically the same thing. That teaching kids that, like, transgender people and LGBTQ people exist and teaching that in school that it's okay to be different, that is sexualizing kids, and that's teaching kids to be sexual, and that spits in the face of every bit of data that says the best way to protect your child is to educate your child. If you don't want your kid to be sexually abused, educate your kid. And if you don't if you've got a little girl or a little boy, like, their abuser isn't just going to be the opposite sex. It could be somebody of the same sex too. And if they don't understand that, if they think that sex is only between a man and a woman, they're not prepared for that conversation. I agree, we don't need to teach kids like how to have sex in school. But this attack has gone so far that we now, like, people are ready to turn violent, and they believe that they're protecting their kids, and they're not. Like, statistically not. Statistically, you are making your kids more vulnerable to being abused. Your kids should know this stuff, and maybe you could argue that it's not the school's responsibility. And I would agree. I don't count on the school to teach my kid that stuff. I teach my kid that stuff. But if they hear about it at school too, great. That's going to reinforce it. Sometimes, like, I was a kid, I never listened. I thought my parents were wrong about everything all the time. My daughter thinks I'm wrong about everything all the time. Like, it takes a lot of convincing for her to accept that I'm right. And I love that about her. I want her to question that forever. But sometimes, like, the parent isn't the messenger. Sometimes kids don't want to hear it from their parents, and sometimes, like, a friend or a friend's parent or a teacher might be the one that, like, positions it in a different way that they understand it. But we are, like, we have become a country where the right believes that we all need to be, like, de-educated. That, like, all this stuff that we know now, it's all indoctrination. It's not progress. It's not that we learned new things. It's not science. It's not studies. We all should just believe the same shit we believed in the 1940s. Let's go back to that. And that's just a bunch of conservatives who are like, I don't want to learn new things. I don't want new things. Everything was better when I was a kid, so I want my kids to have my childhood. You know what, though? Like, almost everybody's childhood was better than being an adult. Being an adult fucking sucks. Being a kid is fucking awesome. It's so cool. You have no real responsibilities, no real, like, repercussions. Like, sometimes you can get, like, grounded. Being a kid is fucking awesome. You don't know any of the stuff that's going on around you, so you can just be playing in your backyard. The worst thing in the world could happen a mile away. Kid's not going to see it. They may not have social media. Like, the stuff that's actually hurting our kids, we could do something about. But instead, we have to blame it all on immigrants and people who aren't straight. All right, let's get back to fascism stuff. But I appreciate that last guest for coming up. I would just say to those in the chat that are on the right, do you think you did a good job? You think you did a good job breaking through that argument and proving that it wasn't fascism? To me, he seems to agree with me that this president is defying the Constitution consistently, and you guys just don't care because you hate us that much. I will tell you, if a Democrat gets in office and he starts doing these same things, I'm going to be critical. I just want you guys to be the same way. And if you're waiting on us to do it so that you have permission to do it, I don't know what to tell you. You got to be the ones. I want to go back so bad. Let's all go back to being kids. Just go move to an island, start over. That sounds better and better. It sounds better every day. All right. I want to show this, and then I'm going to get to some more fascism stuff. But I want to show this from Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper had on Mike Johnson, and all of this shit that's happening. It's hard to know, like, what to cover. We've got the troops in multiple cities now. We have this administration openly saying that they're going to target people like me for our speech and try and tie us into a RICO case. All the while, this administration, led by Mike Johnson in Congress, are keeping the Epstein files from us. And I applaud Jake Tapper for this interaction.
It should do. And they have to hold people accountable. We have to ensure that the rule of law applies to everyone. And that's exactly what's happening here.
Does the rule of law have to apply to people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. There's new information over the last couple of days about that as well. Apparently, there were 274 FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th.
Oh, there were?
Kash Patel just brought some enhanced understanding to that. They were sent there to do crowd control because of everything that was going on. It wasn't a false flag operation, as President Trump suggested.
How does Mike Johnson not know that? By the way, here's the memo. Because Kash Patel, I was like, Kash Patel corrected him? No, Kash Patel just like was wrong. He was just upset about the wrong thing. Kash Patel said agents were sent into a crowd control mission after the riot was declared by Metro Police, something that goes against FBI standards. This was the failure of a corrupt leadership that lied to Congress and to the American people about what really happened. Just a quick reminder that the leadership here was Trump. This was Trump's FBI that he's talking about. And he's upset that the FBI sent in agents after the violence had kicked off to try and calm things down. So when you're a Republican, I jumped into a live for like 12 seconds yesterday, which was insane. I shouldn't have done it because it's like legitimately the dumbest people that exist on TikTok. And they asked me about this. And they're like, so now are you going to apologize because there were 274 plainclothes agents that were part of the riots? No, I'm not going to apologize because they weren't. They got called in to take care of the rioters. Continue with the clip.
Well, Jake, wait a minute. Hold on, Jake. How do you know that, right? There's a lot
of
questions,
what Kash Patel
brand new questions about, well, and I'm telling you that there's videos and it's always been disputed what involvement some of those persons, engaged in, what involvement they had.
Do you see how Mike Johnson does this? Now, Mike Johnson's trying his best to make sure that at the end of this administration, if they don't do the fascism, if it fails, that he's not going to go to jail. So this is a thing that Republicans do now all the time. They're given the facts and they're like, well, there's discussion about that. People disagree on that. Yeah, we know. You guys, like when the facts are in your face, you guys just say, and you keep going. That's what he just did there. Like the FBI director confirmed, Trump's FBI director confirmed that Trump's other FBI director, who, by the way, was like the third or fourth FBI director because Trump kept firing FBI directors who wouldn't do what he said. They've all confirmed that they went in to help settle the riots down. And he's like, well, I don't know if I believe Trump's FBI and all of the documents because there's people online who think differently.
Did they spur on the crowd? Did they open the gates to allow them in? I don't know. These are questions.
No, we did those investigations. No, they didn't. Nope. These aren't questions anymore, Mike Johnson. The answer is no. And if you guys wanted to actually if you actually wanted to get to the answers, you would have involved yourself in the January 6th commission. You actually would have appointed Republicans that weren't implicated to investigate. But instead, you tried to put up only people who were implicated, and then you said, well, if we can't have people who were involved on January 6th being in charge of investigating it, then we don't want to do it. And they took their ball and they went home. Because they know the truth, and they hide behind this thing that they're doing now. They hide behind like, oh, that was a corrupt investigation. Oh, the Democrats cheated. Oh, there's still questions. Oh, we don't trust anything. It's the only option Republicans have because their leader fucking lies about goddamn everything. Remember, he said that he wanted to send in those National Guard troops, but Nancy Pelosi wouldn't allow it. Well, fuck, I guess Mike Johnson's been the one allowing these troops to go into D.C. now. I guess he needed to get permission for Mike Johnson to send in the troops to D.C. Oh, he didn't? He just did it on his own? Where's the Republicans on that? They still say it. You guys in the chat, there's still people here that think that the National Guard didn't show up on January 6th because Nancy Pelosi. And they're going to say this. They're going to go, she's on tape saying it, which she's not. Go watch the tape. She just says we should have prepared more. She doesn't say that she could have called in the National Guard because she can't. She was trying. She was calling Mike Pence going, dude, can you please get Trump to send in the National Guard? He's like, he won't answer my calls. She's like, can you do it? He's like, I can't because there's a chain of command. And unless he's incapacitated, I can't be the commander in chief. And she's like, do something. And he's like, I'm trying. And then you're like, yeah, it was totally Nancy Pelosi's fault. All they have to do is lie to you and double down on it and you buy it. And that's what we have here. Good Christian man whose Grindr account might be exposed on Wednesday. Good Christian Mike Johnson here. He's just lying right to your fucking face.
They should be answered. And yes, there's a lot of investigation and discovery to go forward. We have a select subcommittee, bipartisan, a committee that is reviewing the investigation of the original J6 committee. I mean, a committee investigating the previous committee. Why? Because there was so much bias in the system. And that committee was rigged, I think. And I think that.
Let's talk about this rigged system. Let me just tell you how this happened. So Democrats and Republicans said, we're going to investigate January 6th. Why did they decide that? Because on January 6th, every fucking Republican in existence, every goddamn one of them on that day, except for Donald Trump, were like, this is horrendous. This never should have happened. It needs to be investigated. This was an attack on the Capitol. It was an attempted insurrection. Every fucking one of them. And they all held that opinion for about a week until Trump came out and started telling them, like, you guys can't say that. I'm going to run again. I'm running for president again. And I will end every fucking one of you if you don't start lying for me. And then they just all changed their story. So then when it came time for the January 6th commission, they were supposed to get, I think it was 4-3. Like, they were supposed to get, I think, 3 seats or 4 seats. And then the Democrats would get the same amount. And then you had a Democrat that would lead. And they said, pick anybody you want except for anybody who was involved in January 6th. And they just picked a bunch of people that were involved in January 6th. So the Democrats are like, no, you can't do that. In fact, they didn't even reject all of them. They only rejected 2. I think it was Jim Jordan, and I don't remember the other one. And the other 3 or 2 or 3, they're like, yeah, you can keep those. And the Republicans like, nope, if you're not taking Jim Jordan, we're done. They're like, well, you can't have Jim Jordan. He's going to be investigated. He can't investigate himself. And they're like, fine, we're not doing it. And they just took their ball and they went home. And they refused to participate. And then they called it rigged. There's no way that something is rigged. Like, you can't be on the jury and also be the defense. You can't do that. Can you imagine that? You just like, you're in a court case and you get a jury summons. You're like, oh, this is, I don't know if I can make this. It's on the same day as my court case. And then you go there like, yeah, I'll sit in the jury pool. Like, tell me about yourself. Like, well, I am currently the defendant, but I'm impartial. And if I'm guilty, I'm going to say that I'm guilty. I definitely will listen to the evidence and decide if I'm guilty or not. You think that would happen? Of course not. So the Republicans could have put any number of people on that committee, and they chose not to. And they put up those people. They put up Jim Jordan on purpose because they knew Jim Jordan would get rejected, and they knew that they were going to need to reject the findings from the J6 committee. They knew it. And so they didn't participate so they could call the whole thing rigged. So you fucking dipshit, lazy ass, numb-brained motherfuckers who worship Donald Trump could sit there every day and go, well, it was rigged. It was rigged. Everything was rigged. Because they know how fucking dumb you are. And they know that all you want is some excuse to support Donald Trump. They just know it. And you all acquiesce every time. Yeah, we'll do that. Yep. You know exactly what we're going to do because we're puppets. Every fucking time.
My theory is, I've always believed that they got rid of evidence and they hid some of this. So all of it's going to come out. The American people deserve full transparency.
Full transparency, 100%.
Oh, it's all going to come out? Are you guys doing an investigation into it right now, Mike Johnson? Oh, you're not? Okay, so it's not going to come out because this is all bullshit? Got it.
Congress is working on, and that's what the administration is working on.
I'm always in favor of full transparency, including
so we'll find out.
Including for
Hey, GT, welcome. It's good to have you here.
275 FBI agents were undercover on January 6th. I know that because I heard that on the internet. Here's Kash Patel.
Agents were sent into a crowd control mission after the riot was declared by Metro Police, something that goes against FBI standards. This was the failure of a corrupt leadership that lied to Congress and the American people about what really happened. Were you right about that? No, you just said it. Isn't it crazy that I literally just stuck my finger in my nose and said that these people will just repeat anything in the face of the evidence, and then they just come in and they do the same thing?
Actually, there were 275 FBI agents that were undercover on January 6th, and you know it.
You just did it. It's like, it's hard not to believe in simulation theory when you motherfuckers exist, and you just do. Like 12 seconds after I said what you'll do, you just do it. That is what we'll do. I better just keep doing it. All right, I'm trying to remember what this was about. I feel like we're becoming like a Becca Day Stan account, but I just want to show you guys this when it comes to the Epstein files.
Nicholas Tartak.
Oh shit! I didn't play the last part. Fuck. Thank you. I'm so sorry. That's the link here. Thank you. The end of this. Sorry. Let me play the end of this clip.
That will probably come on the floor of the House.
Me too. People deserve full transparency.
Full transparency,
and that's what
100%.
Congress is working on, and that's what the administration is working on.
I'm always in favor of full transparency, including, including for the Epstein files, which that will probably come on the floor of the House.
Me too.
Soon, and we'll have lots of discussions about that. Speaker Johnson, always good to have you here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Wednesday's going to be a tough day. All right, now here's Becca Day. Look at the newest Epstein connection.
Nicholas Tartaglione angling for a presidential pardon with the help of an RFK Jr. ally, aka Jessica Reed Krause. And the reason why I think this is important.
If you're new here, we fucking hate Jessica Reed Krause. Jessica Reed Krause, House and Habit, goddamn sucks. I don't know where she gets her money. I know she makes a lot of money off Substack. Basically what she does is she just upholds the patriarchy and the power structures that be. It's her favorite thing to do is to cheerlead for like the rich and powerful.
And with the help of an RFK Jr. ally, aka Jessica Reed Krause. And the reason why I think this is important to talk about is because I think there's a very good chance that this man could actually be pardoned and why it would be so horrific to this entire case. Let me remind you, because we've talked about this man before when we talked about Jessica Reed Krause, but let me remind you what Nicholas Tartaglione did in the first place to end up in prison. Nicholas Tartaglione is a former police officer. He was running an entire substance ring. What got him arrested, convicted, and sentenced was the fact that this man, Nicholas Tartaglione, in 2016, brutally took the lives of 4 individuals in a substance deal gone wrong. Kidnapped all 4 of these men and then forced 3 of them to watch him take the life of 1 using a zip tie and would proceed to execute the final 3 victims and bury
Sorry, trigger warning. There's going to be a lot of graphic stuff here, and it's going to get to Epstein in a minute.
them on his property. And keep in mind, the man's life whom he took with a zip tie was over a financial discrepancy, and the other 3 were completely innocent in the matter. They had nothing to do with the deal. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's also notable that all 4 of these victims were Hispanic or Latino. The reason that I say that's important is because this administration does not look at Black, brown, Hispanic, Latino, or anyone who is an immigrant or could be perceived as an immigrant as human. Our lives hold very little value in their eyes, and they have shown that through their actions. Because of who these victims were, it would not surprise me if this man got a pardon. Also have to remember that Jeffrey, who was the cellmate of Nicholas Tartaglione, accused Nicholas Tartaglione of trying to take his life and trying to extort him for money. We remember this got all brushed under the rug as Jeffrey was attempting to take his own life, and then he was moved to solitary confinement and was found unalive in the same manner that Nicholas Tartaglione took the life of his first victim, with a zip tie. I can't show you like the photos from Jeffrey's autopsy of the ligature marks around his neck, but it's very obvious that they do not match the rope, the sheet that they said he hung himself on. It absolutely looks exactly like if a zip tie was used to take.
Which, if you remember, like the autopsy said that I forget the name of that bone that was broken in the neck. Like that's not normal with like a self-inflicted wound. That's more with more common with a strangulation.
His life. So while he was never convicted of taking Jeffrey's life, he's clearly the #1 suspect who could have potentially physically taken his life. Maybe he was instructed to do that.
Lloyd, thank
all
you.
Signs point to Nicholas Tartaglione. And not only that, Nicholas Tartaglione is besties with Jessica Reed Krause, who is an ally of RFK Jr.
For anybody who loves Jessica Reed Krause, she's buds with this dude. And when you say when she says buds, they're gonna play a phone call here in a minute, and you tell me if Jessica Reed Krause thinks this guy is like a brutal murderer, because that's what he is. Like even if this stuff like with Epstein isn't part, like that's why he's in jail.
And has a direct line into the White House. I've seen Jessica Reed Krause of House and Habit post her phone call with Nicholas Tartaglione on her social media whenever Maureen Comey was fired by the Trump administration, and she and Nicholas Tartaglione were celebrating on a recorded prison line.
His creator is Becca Day.
Begin speaking now.
Nick,
Hey, Jess.
Oh my God, did you hear the news?
No, what?
They just fired Maureen Comey.
Yes! Get out of here.
Yes, they just fired her. It just broke.
Oh my God, I want to cry right now. Why'd they fire her? Why?
I have.
Why do you think they'd be excited about that? Isn't that weird? She's an excellent prosecutor. She's the one that prosecuted Diddy. Why would they be happy about this? That level of excitement. This is a brutal murderer in prison and a paid propagandist, first for RFK and then for the Trump administration. What on earth could cause this psychopathic murderer to be excited about Maureen Comey being fired?
I haven't even got to read. I'm driving in traffic right now. I was just getting my nails done. And
keep in mind, Maureen Comey prosecuted Jeffrey, Ghislaine, and even Diddy. She is also the daughter of James Comey, who is just indicted by this current administration for correctly probing Donald Trump's ties to Russia back.
I just want to point out that this guy who was accused of trying to kill Epstein is on the side with you, MAGA. He's talking to one of your most prolific MAGA content creators in Jessica Reed Krause. For some reason, they're homies, and they're celebrating that she's being fired. By the way, Jessica Reed Krause consistently wears a hoodie that says "Free Ghislaine." She thinks that Ghislaine Maxwell shouldn't be in prison, even though she was convicted of trafficking and sexual abuse of minors. This is your side, right? Because we're the danger to kids. I want to be clear on that. And her biggest danger to her kids, she thought, was the COVID vaccine. That's really fucking dangerous, but not murderers. Not Ghislaine Maxwell, not Jeffrey Epstein. They weren't problems.
2020. And not only this, we remember on August 10th, 2019 is when Jeffrey passed away, right? If we look at Nicholas Tartagliane's docket, we can see that 11 days after Jeffrey passed away, he was assigned a new attorney, despite the fact that he had already been sentenced to prison. His case was done. But he was assigned a new attorney, a very high-profile attorney, Bobby C. Sternheim, who just a few months later would be Ghislaine Maxwell's defense attorney.
Wait a minute. So celebrated the person that put Ghislaine Maxwell in prison, then got the same attorney. All the while, MAGA influencer House and Habit is cheerleading both of them, best friends with both of them. These guys are the best. A serial sexual abuser of children and a cold-blooded murderer. Those are her friends. Those are the people that she's cheering on. Cool.
Was arrested. The fact that Jessica Reed Krause has made it her mission to try to get all of the co-conspirators or anyone who is implicated in doing.
By the way, just real quick, also on the Epstein files. RFK took her under his wing, brought her into the campaign. She claims she didn't get paid. I don't know. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. Her real good friend during the campaign came out and said RFK was sexually inappropriate with me, made sexual advances towards me that I didn't want. I think that's what the claim was. I don't remember if they had an affair. Maybe they had an affair. We've got a new subscriber. Let me see. Let me get the details on that. It was Olivia Newsy. She said, let's see, that she had a relationship with him. That's what it was. And she lost her job because it violated the New York Magazine's standards regarding conflicts of interest. So she got fired for this. She called it an affair. So I was wrong about that. Not unwanted sexual advances. Sexual advances that apparently were okay. She later described the relationship as manipulated by Kennedy and acknowledged a significant power disparity between them. She also called it an affair. And what House and Habit did is came out and smeared her. Ran interference. She lost her job. She lost her livelihood. House and Habit, her friend, came out and smeared her because it was embarrassing to RFK, the Nepo baby who's in the Epstein files. Cool.
Wrong surrounding Jeffrey's case. out of trouble is disgusting. This is exactly how you play with fire, and I hope when this MAGA craze is all over, she never gets a second of peace from the shame that she feels for encouraging and helping justice not to be served.
Yeah, she was fired for cause. She deserved to lose her job. It's just an interesting thing in this world that women who have affairs with powerful men lose their jobs and lose their livelihood. And the man who had the affair kept his wife, kept his livelihood, and got a position in the administration. It's just kind of the way things go in America, that the woman who does this is always the villain and not the man with all the power who would control that power dynamic. Certainly, she's the problem. I appreciate my MAGA friends in here consistently confirming that misogyny is alive and well, and all women are the worst, and all men are the best, and it's women who ruin everything. Just want to. There you go, MAGA. Let me read some super chats that came in. Rory said this one is for Jen. Rory also said, stay safe, brother, and love your demeanor. Tanya said, keep up the good work. Malin said, upsetting to see a reasonable person defend Trump. Yeah. Amy said, our president says he hates us and wishes bad for us. How can we come together if that's allowed? 76% of political violence is from the right. No, Trump's giving student loan forgiveness to anyone who joins ICE. No, I think maybe that's now Trump's giving student loan forgiveness to anyone who joins ICE, not veterans, firefighters, teachers, and so on. Nin said, send a Halloween card to your P.O. box. Get it yet? I have not checked my P.O. box. I'll check it after today. Let me check here. I haven't checked my P.O. box in like 3 weeks, and I'm deeply sorry. Shannon said, with love from the deep state. Thank you. Appreciate my deep state payments coming in. They're much smaller than you would expect, by the way. Pink said dollar train. Same with Rachel starting the $2 train, and said thank you for speaking up when it's scary. We will be here to keep supporting you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I have contingency plans if things start going real sideways. Jocelyn said great show as always. Thank you. Cam said, here's to an incoming 2-game losing streak at the hands of Puka Nakua. Also, Kushner and the Saudis are buying EA games and taking it private. I've got that on the outline. Fuck you, and I love Puka Nakua. Okay, I got all those. I'll update the total here in a minute. We've got I started late, so we're going to go another half hour. We'll go till 1:30. If we can knock out that goal before the end of the live, that would be great. If not, Jen will just beat me, which is good for some of you guys. I want to talk about a couple things going on, but let's go down to what you're talking about. So what Cam was talking about here is EA Sports, who makes Madden, FIFA, I believe not 2K. What else do they make? They make Madden. What are their big games? I think they make NHL. Is it just EA Sports that they bought? Anyways, the Saudis, the PIF, that's their investment fund, is rolling over its existing. They will acquire 100% of EA, rolling over its existing 9.9% stake in the company. Stockholders will receive $210 in share cash, and the per share purchase price represents a 25% premium to EA's unaffected price share of 168.32. So a bunch of people that own EA Sports, they're going to get paid out nicely at $210 a share when it's at 168. This has been like a coordinated effort by the Saudi royal family to whitewash their name. They funded 9/11. They took an American journalist and chopped him up into pieces while his wife sat outside in a car, and they snuck him out of the embassy. His last words were, "I can't breathe," as they covered his head with a hood. And now they are just using all of their money to whitewash everything they did. They're heavily involved in sports, the UFC, the Live Golf, which is the opposition to the PGA Tour. They gave people, I think Dustin Johnson got like $400 million to join them. Phil Mickelson got something like $200 million. They're buying up soccer franchises. I think they might own Miami FC. Somebody can check on that. They're buying up soccer franchises or football franchises in Europe. They're paying. I just watched that last boxing fight between who was it? I'm bad with boxing. Who's the Mexican dude? Shit. Why do I not Alvarez? Fuck, why am I mixing up his name? Who's the Mexican dude, the redheaded Mexican dude that just lost? Canelo Alvarez. I got Alvarez, right? Canelo just fought, and that was, I believe that was Saudi funded, wasn't it? Who funded that one? I just remember listening to like the press conference, and they were like praising this dictator, Turkai. Is that how you say it? How do you say it? Is it Turkai? How do you say it? Turkai. He was in Riyadh. What is that? His name? What is the guy's name? Turkey al-Sheikh. That's what it was. And they were just like, they're like, none of this, like boxing wouldn't be what it is without Turkey how do you say that last name? Al-Sheikh. It's very bizarre. But they're funding all this stuff now. And now the Saudis are just like accepted. They run golf tournaments at Donald Trump's hotel or golf courses all the time, like Bedminster and Doral down in Florida. They paid Trump millions, tens of millions of dollars to run these golf tournaments, and these golf tournaments bleed money. They don't make anything. So it's kind of gross. But on top of that, they've now bought our sports games, which I will never buy an EA sports game ever again, which is good. That's going to save me some money. But also announced on the same day was this. $1 billion Trump Plaza slated for construction in Saudi Arabia. The project set for the port city of Jeddah will feature offices and luxury residences, forming a cornerstone of Manhattan-style development, complete with a park inspired by New York Central Park. This is the rendering of what they're doing. Now, remember, Trump doesn't build buildings. He just gets licensing agreements. So this is just a way for them to build a hotel and then give Trump some money. Just some bribes. These are the people that funded 9/11. This administration is just going to let them invest in all of our companies and own American companies. John Rahm got $600 million. I thought it was $5 million, but yeah, it might be. $2 billion these folks gave to Jared Kushner for just no fucking reason. Are you guys serious, MAGA? Are you serious about this? Donald Trump's just doing business deals with the people who funded 9/11. You guys are just cool with this? Doesn't benefit you, by the way. Yeah. I don't even know what to tell. I don't even know what to say to MAGA anymore. Like, America first? Where? Let me show you about these connections with the Saudis. Before Trump was president, this is in 2015, found this old tweet. Here's what Trump said. Dopey Prince Al-Walid Talal wants to control our U.S. politicians with daddy's money. Can't do it when I get elected. Said the same thing about the Qataris. Talking openly about how all these people are just bribing our politicians. Gets elected, and then obviously Trump turned down that money, right? No. In fact, in 2020, there were campaign ads running against him talking about this. Here was one by Really American, which I think is maybe Act Blue now.
Saudi Arabia provided al-Qaeda with support, financing, and resources that were critical to the success of the September 11th.
Don't forget about the Riyadh Comedy Festival that Shane Gillis turned down. Yeah, we talked about that the other day, Guy Fawkes. A bunch of, including, for me, the most disgusting one is Dave Chappelle, who's going to go perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Like, they have legitimate slaves over there. And Dave Chappelle has given some of the most, like, moving monologues regarding slaves, slavery in the United States. And I think he's always been somebody who, like, tried to bring his profile, like, tried to talk to people about the history of this country. And to watch him go over and sell out to perform in front of slave owners is devastating.
That were critical to the success of the September 11th.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Pete Davidson, his dad died in this attack, and Pete Davidson's taking that money. I mean, that's the reality with conservatives, is it really is money first. It's money over church. It's money over country. It's money over family. It's money over everything, always. And the crazy thing is, you're not getting this money. Just your politicians are getting this money. But you're like, money talks, so we'll just let them do it.
The Saudi government using school books that teach Arab children to hate Jews and to hate Christians.
Intelligence agencies have confirmed Saudi Arabia's crown prince personally ordered the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
The Trump administration informed Congress that the president will invoke emergency authority regarding arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
Both sides of the aisle are criticizing the Trump administration's latest arms deal with Saudi Arabia, accusing the administration of bypassing Congress.
The biggest concern, Saudi Arabia's human rights record, their involvement in the conflict in Yemen. The Saudi-led coalition has been accused of indiscriminate civilian casualties of the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now. Children are literally starving in the street.
How exactly does the country and its government get to ignore this? And what is the nature of America's relationship with Saudi Arabia?
Donald Trump has more involvement and is more enmeshed with the Saudis than any president in American history.
I like the Saudis. They're very nice. I make a lot of money with them. They buy all sorts of my stuff. All kinds of toys from Trump. They pay me millions and hundreds of millions. Saudi Arabia, and I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me, they spend 40 million, 50 million.
We'll become a very good friend.
We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia. And by the way, just so everybody, I have no business whatsoever with Saudi Arabia. Couldn't care less.
No business. I don't have any business with them, guys. What you're seeing is bullshit. I didn't know Bill Burr was performing there. That sucks. That really sucks. I've really liked Bill Burr. That sucks. What Trump said at the end of there, and by the way, I have no business with them, it's because he was being investigated, and he absolutely had business with them. Here's Robert Weissman to explain some of that.
Specifically to try to ingratiate themselves with the president. Well, we have a lot of reason to think the answer is yes. Diplomats have told the Washington Post, of course they would stay at the Trump Hotel. It'd be stupid not, it'd be like diplomatic malpractice not to stay at the Trump Hotel so that you could tell him when you saw him what a great hotel he has. Saudi Arabia chooses to have celebrations at the Trump Hotel. Maybe they made a determination that it was the best hotel in town to do that. There are a lot of hotels and venues in Washington, D.C. They just happened to settle on the Trump Hotel. Maybe, but maybe not. Certainly something that the court should be looking at.
One of the criticisms during the first, remember when Trump just like he tried to hide that he was corrupt? What he's talking about here is these FARA filings that showed that the Saudis who had never were spending time at like Trump hotels, at least specifically in DC, were suddenly staying there. And that's where you're getting this number. It's 190,000 plus 78,000 in catering and 1,500 in parking. For a total of what's that, like $270,000. And they said, like, their excuse, like, of course we would. Like, that's how you get his ear. You show up and you're like, I stayed at your hotel. It was great. And then you have an in. That's what he was fighting then. Now his companies are just like openly taking billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Here, let's see. Does this have, I think I showed you that one. Let me go back now. I want to go back to golf because one of the people that got, I think, $200 million was Phil Mickelson from the Saudis, and Phil Mickelson also recently got busted for insider trading, and now Phil Mickelson's like on this all-out campaign. I think he's being paid. I don't know. I think he's being paid by the Saudis. I think that like they're telling him he needs to be political on Twitter. Here he is now talking about, for those with a shorter attention span, Sable Offshore, SOC, is a true win for California. This is an offshore drilling project that basically the state of California is like, no, like this is a bad deal for us. He says it will lower fuel prices for California families because drilling more oil definitely does that. More jobs and stronger local economy. Doesn't usually happen. Higher tax revenue for public services, reduced natural oil seepage through the ocean floor, cleaner beaches and clean waters, less tar, less oil on the surface, healthier marine life with less, like offshore drilling is going to make everything healthier. Cleaner burning fuel, fewer particulates in the air, less reliance on foreign oil, fewer massive tankers offshore polluting during transport and anchoring. This is a bizarre thing for him to write. Like, he doesn't tweet like this. So somebody made this tweet for him. And now he's tweeting this shit out. He's got like, here's who you can call. Check out the community notes, though. This post presents the project as an environmental win. However, the California Coastal Commission has issued cease and desist orders and an $18 million penalty against Sable for unpermitted work, citing violations of state environmental law. The matter is set for trial. You can go look at this. These are their court filings. I don't know, like how does Phil Mickelson all of a sudden like get this involved? Here's some other things. And again, remember, I think 200 million is what he got from the Saudis to go play golf over there. This one up here. This was something that Phil had like retweeted, which I like. I actually like this. Want your blood to boil? There are 34,000 homeless military veterans in America. The U.S. gives the UN about $13 billion in taxpayer dollars per year. That's enough to buy a $382,000 house for each of these homeless military veterans. This the definition of America last. This is sick. I like that. But Phil retweeted it to say this. This is what Phil took out of this. How about no foreign aid, no money for NGOs or illegal immigrants until our veterans, our police, our citizens are taken care of and we are out of our debt? While his president just sells out, and he sells out to the Saudis. We're not going to increase spending for our veterans, for our police, or to take care of our citizens. We're actually just going to cut taxes, and we're going to take that money that we were funding NGOs with, and we're going to give tax breaks to billionaires. I swear to God, they have just bought all of our athletes. One of the things that I've been researching lately is just like the fall of empires. And one of the things that happens with the fall of every empire, like right at the end before an empire falls, is the actors and the athletes, the performers start being the highest paid. And they become like pawns in the government. Think USSR. The end of the USSR. Their athletes were everything to them. They were highly paid. They were some of the richest people in the country. They were heroes. Think of East Germany. Think of Rome. Every time an empire collapses, there's this indicator where this money all starts flowing to like performers. And look at our country. It's the actors, it's the athletes, it's the performers. The money is unfucking believable. Like Jake Paul was a YouTuber, became a multimillionaire. Now he's doing like these boxing fights where he fights people like 1.5 feet shorter than him, and he makes hundreds of millions of dollars. And then he gets paid by the Trump campaign too to go out and endorse him. Think of who Trump surrounded himself with. He goes to those UFC fights. He sits there ringside. They play music for him. He has his own walkout music. They stop the entire show to walk this guy out there. Everybody stands up. They shake his hand. Everybody's like, oh, it's so good to have you here. Fighters, when they win, they hop over and they go shake his hand. Like this is the same shit we saw with the Soviets and the Germans. This is how like these autocracies wind up existing. When you see anybody, like, you ever hear a Russian fighter, like Conor McGregor kind of did this to Khabib, where he was like, hey, what's up with you taking all this money from Putin? What's up with you taking this money from Kadyrov? Why are there all these like oligarchs who murder people that are funding your entire operation? It's interesting. Very, very similar. I think America's days as like the dominant country are over, as the world power are over. The dynasty part of it is over. And I look forward to the America that just like settles in and decides like we don't need to be the world's police anymore. What's ironic is you guys ran on that. Like Republicans, you agree with that. You all loved this idea of no new wars and we were going to be peaceful now. We're not going to be the world's police. All we have done since Trump got in office is become the world's police. We're down like bombing boats in Venezuela. We're talking about occupying Mexico. We're talking about occupying Greenland. We bombed Iran. We're now preparing for war in the Middle East. All we've done is taken like foreign aid away from poor people and taken that foreign aid and instead used it to attack people. Like Venezuela's preparing for an invasion right now. Did you know that? Like as bad as things are in Venezuela already, now they have to worry about the United States invading. Why? Because Venezuela doesn't have a president who will let like BP come in there and ConocoPhillips and drill all their oil and make profit of it. And so now we're just pretending that this is about drugs and we're blowing up like fishing boats in the water, never showing like never telling anybody who was on board, never proving that there were drugs on board. Didn't make any sense. There were 11 people in a boat. Why would you have 11 people moving drugs? Like you have weight limits in boats. None of it made any sense. That's where we're at. Like they all lied to you. All the stuff you guys claimed to care about, none of it's happening for you. Except for we're getting rid of immigrants. That's it. Venezuela is just training every able adult right now. Yeah, it's a scary time for Venezuela and for the world. And it's a scary time for Trump because, like, I think the hard part with Trump is that the more Trump gets in trouble, which he's going to get in trouble, the more he gets in trouble, the more crazy he's going to get. He'll try and distract from any trouble that he gets in, and he'll just be more and more and more authoritarian. I think that if Republicans don't wake up soon, honest to God, I don't know if it's me, but there will be people like me that wind up in jail just for speaking. Like free speech is over. They're certainly going after Hassan already. They're running ads in New York City. They're like they're trying to paint Mamdani as like this radical, and they're putting him in with pictures with Hassan. Like Hassan is this radical that everybody needs to be afraid of, which I do think backfires in New York. Like they've tried to use it. Republicans are like, I don't know who the fuck that guy is. And anybody else is like, anybody with kids are like, oh, I like that guy. Hassan's pretty popular with younger kids. And anybody on the left's like, oh, I actually like Hassan. That's fine by me. I'm glad. That makes sense that he and Mamdani would be in a picture together. Like they're trying to do McCarthyism, and I think that like McCarthyism, maybe it doesn't work with social media, but that part gets a little more scary because when it's not working is when Trump gets more and more desperate. And we've seen like even a reasonable guy that we had come up here earlier and have a conversation. We can try and have a reasonable conversation, but the end of that, the end of it was he basically agreed with everything we said and still doesn't think it's a big deal. Like isn't really necessarily willing to go out and do something about it. The apathy from MAGA is going to cause this to keep going. I mean, look at the stuff. Like if right now somebody busted through my door and you all could, and MAGA could watch this and they arrested me and I said, what are the charges? And they said, anti-American rhetoric. We're putting you in jail for anti-American rhetoric. Most of the MAGA here would be like, that's fine. Yeah, he totally is anti-American. Get him. Thank God he's gone. I think most of you would probably celebrate it. Raise your hand if you give me a thumbs up, MAGA, if you would like it if the government broke in right now and arrested me because of anti-American rhetoric. I just want to see some thumbs up in the chat. What's the bullshit there, Jason? What's the bullshit that I'm spreading right now? Are you unaware of the new executive order from Trump? Are you aware of a new executive order that says anti-American rhetoric is what they're going after now? I don't even, Matthew, I see what you're saying. It's not apathy. It's what they voted for. I don't think they did, because Trump didn't say this. I don't think they voted for it. I just think they're okay with it. If somebody check on Jason, make sure. Somebody send him that executive order. All right, let me check comments one more time, then we'll get out of here. Cassie, actually, Jen, will you come on and talk about the event tonight, and I'll add these up? Oh, she left. Fuck, Jen left. All right, I'll add these up in a minute. I forgot Jen had to go somewhere. Tonight, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we're going to watch the Mormon dating show. Make sure you're a paid member either on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch, and you can watch that with us either on YouTube or in the Discord, and it should be a really enjoyable time. Mary said, thank you for the work you do both day and night. You don't even know about my night work. Do some shady shit at night. Cassie said, New York State stymied my account today, so I'm sharing the love. Never stop telling the truth. Getting stimmies from New York State? How did New York State get? You guys getting stimulus out there? Hard pass from Utah. It's tough to watch. I'm with you there, Christina. As somebody from Utah, it's hard to watch that. Did I forget Barack Hussein Obama? Everything I say is insane. Venezuela and Colombia are horrendous countries. All right, Colleen, even if you think Venezuela and Colombia are horrendous countries, do you think that we should just bomb boats in the middle of the ocean and claim that there's drugs and not provide proof that there were drugs on that boat? Colleen? I think whataboutism is like maybe the mental disease of MAGA that has screwed them up the most. Where like if you criticize MAGA, all they're thinking about is like, how can I say that somebody else is worse? I agree Donald Trump is not the worst human ever to exist. And I agree that everything I ever say about Donald Trump, you can find somebody who has done something worse. But if that's the way that we communicate, then it's not communication at all. It's just you guys desperate not to admit that Donald Trump did something wrong. Right? Like, do you know, Colleen, if there were drugs on that boat? I'll answer for you. You do not. You know why you don't know? Because nobody ever confirmed it. Now, Venezuela says that these were citizens and that they were going to, I don't remember they were going, but they were going to a different island. None of you know if there were drugs on that boat, but we're also not allowed to just shoot drug boats in international waters. That's also not allowed. Once they enter our waters, we're allowed to do that, but we can't just go around the world and start shooting boats unless you're Colleen, in which case you're like, well, they shouldn't have been out there. Curacao? Is that how you say it? Curacao? Is that where they're going? How do you say that? Is it Curacao or Curacao? I think I say Curacao because of the liquor. Yeah, it's called the Altar. Thanks for the gifted memberships there also, Alter Ego. All right. We got about 5 more minutes. Let me see what I want to add here. I just want to real quick get to Chicago. We'll go a little bit over. But first I want to show you, here's what Michael Flynn said today. Now, Michael Flynn is also a fascist and advocates for fascism. And I just want to remind you that Michael Flynn absolutely worked with Russia in the 2016 election and pled guilty. The Russia hoax, he pled guilty to. And he calls it a hoax still, which is crazy. He pled guilty. He's like, yeah, I did that. And then Trump's like, no, call it a hoax. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a hoax. Curacao, that's how you say it? Curacao. Thank you. General Flynn said, many, and I mean many, flag officers, generals, and admirals must be relieved of duty immediately. Thank them for their service and send them on their way. We must get back to winning attitude in warfare. No more brownie points for participating or deployment after deployment. The reason for this response is Trump says he's expanding the National Guard's role. And generals have worried because they're like, wait a minute, we're not supposed to police American cities. That's not the role of the federal government. That's not the role of federal troops. And so generals are like, hey, this is unconstitutional. And General Mike Flynn says, we got to get rid of them because we need to be able to do this. We must get back to a winning attitude in warfare. What warfare do we have going on in the United States right now? Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that all of your folks are celebrating using troops on American citizens? Why didn't Joe Biden release the Epstein files? You don't get to talk about that until you can spell Epstein correctly. And you guys ask that question every day. I'm tired of answering that. In all fairness to Michael Flynn, look at all this crime. What is this, a fucking company picnic? What are we doing here? They're all just standing around. This is fun. We came in our costumes. These people are like just walk around them. Nothing's happening. We're here to protect you. Could you get out of the way, please? All of them? What are they doing? I brought my very best cowboy hat. I like my cowboy hat. Look at this guy walking around the fanny pack. Just like, the fuck? Yeah, why are they? Yeah, that's right. Good point, Clyde. I thought we got to go to south side of Chicago, put them in downtown, just stand there. By the way, we're paying for that for no reason. Let me show you clips from the exact same area that they're at now. You might say, oh, well, they're there, and that's why. Let me see if I have this. Is this it? All right. You'll see some of the clips here from the same area. This was last weekend in Chicago. This is the bridge that they're around. Just having a nice little boat race. Lots of people, some shirtless folks taking pictures. Looks like some people out here enjoying a patio lunch. A lot of spectators up on the bridge. This is what they need. This lady better be careful. She's walking alone. I bet the next step she just got murdered and thrown into the river, and nobody even cared. This is what they sent them to do, to take care of this. It's the most touristy part of Chicago. I've only been to Chicago twice, and I didn't really do the tourism thing. But yeah, this is like downtown Chicago. Those are warships. Where did these kayakers come from? I bet these kayakers are from Mexico somehow. Probably coming up from Venezuela, Colombia. I guarantee these kayaks are just filled with drugs. That's why they're floating. They're just filled with buoyant drugs. These are drug runners. Somewhere Trump had a drone ready to go. I think we got like divers here or swimmers here too. What is this? A swim race? God damn. Get him, Trump. Get him, National Guard. We desperately need you. It's very important. Just a quick fact check. In the last year in Chicago, homicides are down 31%. Shootings are down 40%. And robberies are down 50%. So all of their crime is down since last year by major numbers. 31% homicide, 39% shooting, and robberies down 50%. Most of that can be attributed to the communities working with law enforcement, creating programs, helping kids as they get through school, like have a path forward and not turn to, dealing drugs or not turn to like stealing cars, making kids aware that they have other options, but also providing them help so that there is a path forward rather than just the same old going to school with no plan. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there in Chicago. They're just making things better, and then Trump sends in the National Guard. Goldilocks says there are clear signs of a war. Let's see. There are clear signs of what a drug boat is, and yes, when they are designated terrorists. America and Netherlands both label them as terrorists. Are you talking about the boat in? Yeah, but wait. We're Venezuelans are terrorists. All right. See, is this a different person? Oh, we got bots in here. Oh, it's a different person misspelling Epstein files. Soros-funded kayaks. That's right. Good try on that one. If that was a drug boat, one, you're not allowed to do that. You can't shoot down a drug boat in international waters. But two, they've provided no evidence that was a drug boat. So I don't know what to tell you there. You guys will just do whatever Donald Trump says. Anything else I wanted to cover today? Look, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, everybody. Let me check comments real quick, and then we'll get out of here. That's the first time in a long time I got all the way through the outline. Thank God we had a guest. I wouldn't have made it all the way through. Thank you, Andrea, for joining the $2 train. And said, I have 10 to my name. Oh, Jesus. And I say this not because I want you to feel bad, but because that is how much I believe in what you're doing. Also, fuck anyone that voted against or voted for that rapist makeup wearing bitch baby. Agreed with that. Check with Jen one more time. I think we're good. All right, guys, just make sure tonight, if you want to join and watch the altar, that you're a member on either YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch. And I'll be back tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, usually, sometimes not on Thursday, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here. I'll see you guys tonight or tomorrow morning. Take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great, great summer.